Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Powell. I'm the director of the Practice Court program at Baylor University School of Law. It's my pleasure to welcome you all, both our live audience as well as our web audience, to the 2015 final round of the Top Gun National Invitational Mock Trial Competition. It is our great pleasure and honor to be hosting it this afternoon. Our judges have not yet come into the courtroom, and so I want to take this opportunity before they do to introduce the advocates who have gone through a grueling 2.5 days so far to get to this point. They have tried the case 5 times now and been victorious, and so they are now in the final round to battle it out for the title of 2015 Top Gun. And so I'd like you to meet them. For the government today, Mr. Ben Wallace, please stand up, Mr. Wallace, from Yale University. And for the defense today, from New York University, Rahul Hari.
Thank you.
I knew I would screw it up, Rahul. Sorry. They've done a magnificent job, and we congratulate them on getting here today. I also want to take this opportunity to tell you who our jurors will be. The panel who will judge the outcome of this competition, I think, is magnificent. The presiding judge is Amos Mazant, United States District Judge for the Eastern District of Texas. In our jury box, the lawyers who will be scoring the final round are Malcolm Bales, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Texas; Roy Barrett, Chairman of the Board of Naaman Howell, Smith, Lee, and Muldrow, the firm that underwrites this competition, and we would not have it but for the Naaman and Howell law firm, people we are very grateful for, but Roy Barrett is here representing the firm. Also on the jury today is Mr. Britt Featherston, Executive Assistant United States Attorney in the Eastern District of Texas; Mr. Derek Hollingsworth, partner in Rusty Hardin and Associates in Houston, Texas; Mrs. Laura Hollingsworth, of counsel at Rusty Hardin and Associates in Houston, Texas; Mr. Lynn Robbins, Senior General Attorney, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad; Ms. Katie Sweeten, an Assistant District Attorney from Travis County, Texas; and finally, Ms. Beth Tobin, an Assistant District Attorney in Limestone County, Texas. An outstanding and experienced panel of trial lawyers, and they are ready and waiting in the wings. Gentlemen, if you're ready to go, we will bring them in.
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, Waco Division, is now in session. The Honorable Judge Van Dam presiding.
Please be seated. Okay, we are here in case 14 CR 2843, United States of America versus Ellen White Moody. And for the government, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Okay, for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
And there anything we need to take up before we begin opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor, we have a couple of housekeeping matters and 2 motions in limine. First, may we make a...
Yes, that would be very good. Thank you. Mr. Fowl. All rise for the jury. Okay, please be seated. Okay, you said you have some preliminary matters to take up?
That's right, Your Honor. First, may we make appearances for the record?
Yes, please do so.
My name is Ben Wallace. This is my colleague, Ellie Wallace.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And together we represent the United States.
Very good. And then for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Rahul Hari. Last name is spelled H-A-R-I. And today I represent Mrs. Ellen Moody.
Thank you. So you have some preliminary matters.
The housekeeping matters we wanted to take care of, Your Honor. We know Your Honor likes us to question from the podium. Can we move around during opening and closing?
No, you'll stay at the podium.
And we'd like to invoke Rule 615 to sequester the witnesses constructively, if that's all right with Your Honor. We'd ask that the agent of the party designated by the United States here today be our investigator, Sergeant Keith Vaughn.
Okay. I assume no objection to that?
No objection, Your Honor, but we do request under Rule 615C that our expert witness, Ranger Huggins, be allowed to watch today's trial.
Very well. I'll permit that.
And Your Honor, our motions in limine, the first one, we move to exclude 2 prior convictions of a witness that will be testifying for the government here today. His name is Mr. Michael Ehrman. Mr. Ehrman was convicted in 2011 of a misdemeanor assault charge and in 2003 of a felony obstruction charge. Both of those are inadmissible under Rule 404, and neither is saved by Rule 609. The first is to misdemeanor, the other's outside the 10-year window.
For clarification, Your Honor, there are 3 convictions for Mr. Ehrman. Was it the 2011, 2008, or 2003 that opposing counsel is objecting to?
2003, 2011.
With regard to the 2011, Your Honor, that's actually a felony conviction, and we do plan on going into that on the cross-examination of this witness should he testify. We have no contest to the 2003 or the 2008 misdemeanor. We understand that they're not allowed under Rule 609.
Okay, so the government's position is the 2011 isn't
No, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
a felony?
The 2003 and the 2008 are the 2 we were seeking to exclude. 2008's a misdemeanor, 2003 outside the 10-year window.
Okay, well, I think they agree to that, so not a problem, so that'll be granted.
The other motion in limine we have, Your Honor, on the defendant's witness list, there's a man, Mr. Matthew Smith, a jailhouse informant, and based on what we've heard from the defense, if they do call him, what he intends to testify about is statements that Mr. Michael Ehrman relayed to him. We'd move to exclude any statements Mr. Ehrman made to him as hearsay.
Okay, well, you can go ahead and respond. We can wait and see if you actually call that witness.
Certainly, Your Honor. The defense has not yet decided whether this witness will be testifying. To the extent that he does, his statements will not be offered for the truth of the matter, but rather to impeach the testimony of Michael Ehrman should he testify.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to grant that. We'll address that if the witness is called. And you can just object if at the appropriate time.
And, Your Honor, that's it from the government.
Anything from the defense?
Nothing from us, Your Honor.
Okay, we're ready for opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, the rule has been invoked, so I would ask that from the government, any of your witnesses that are here, other than your agent you've designated,
Sure.
will have to leave the courtroom, as well as from the defense, any witnesses that you would have present other than your expert.
None, Your Honor.
Okay. And I put it a pace for both counsel to monitor that situation if your witnesses would enter the courtroom.
Of course.
You're under the obligation for the rule. Okay, we're ready to go ahead and proceed with the opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. He wouldn't have done it alone. He couldn't have done it alone. He did not do it alone. Members of the jury, on September 9th, 2014, this man, Dr. James Moody, a husband, father, beloved professor here at Baylor, lost his life. You're going to hear today that Dr. James Moody was shot, members of the jury. Shot by a man named Michael Lee Ehrman. Now, this is a murder prosecution, members of the jury, but you're going to hear there is no dispute that Michael Ehrman was the shooter. Both sides agree that Michael Ehrman was at Dr. Moody's house that night. Both sides agree that he pulled the trigger. Both sides agree that he did it on purpose. We're here because Michael Ehrman did not do it alone. But what you're going to hear is that Mr. Ehrman and Dr. Moody, they didn't know each other. There was no quarrel, no spat. Those two had no problems. But you're going to hear that the connection between the two and the reason that Mr. Ehrman ended up killing Dr. Moody, well, the connection is a person who's sitting in this courtroom right now. The defendant, Mrs. Ellen Moody. You see, Mrs. Ellen Moody was the wife of Dr. Moody. And just days before he was murdered, you're going to hear she found out her husband was having an affair. Not just any affair. Her 50-year-old husband was having an affair with his 24-year-old TA, Miss Lila Green. And there they are, members of the jury. That is a picture that's taken at the Moody's home. Miss Lila Green is wearing Mrs. Moody's bathrobe in that picture, and Mrs. Moody saw that. And the way she saw it was she hired a private investigator to look into what her husband had been doing. And that's what he found, members of the jury.
Counsel, you didn't ask permission to publish pictures.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
I presume that's an admitted exhibit.
It's a pre-admitted exhibit.
Okay, so yes, you need to ask permission before you publish exhibits.
I apologize. So that is what Mrs. Moody saw. That is what the private investigator brought to her, and when she saw that, members of the jury, she decided she was going to hire that private investigator for another job. This one, a murder for hire. You're going to hear at that point the defendant decided to take her husband down. You're going to hear the defendant offered to pay Mr. Ehrman $50,000 to do it for her. You're going to hear she devised the plan. It told Mr. Ehrman, here's when I'll be out of town to give me an alibi. Here's how you're going to get into my home. I'll leave the door unlocked, the alarm system off, and you finish the job. And that, members of the jury, is exactly what they did. Now, as the government, we can't just tell you that that's what happened. We got to prove it to you. And we got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is a murder case, as I said. Federal murder for hire in interstate commerce, which sounds complicated, but all it really means is that we got to prove three things to you. First, we have to prove that Mr. Ehrman actually killed Dr. Moody. Second, we have to prove that he did so because Mrs. Ellen Moody asked him to and paid him to. And third, we have to prove to you that Mr. Ehrman traveled in interstate commerce to commit this murder. And all that really means is that he crossed state lines to do so. We're going to prove that. And we're going to prove it by focusing on three simple facts. Three facts we're going to ask you to keep in mind as you listen to the evidence today. Fact one, that Mr. Ehrman would have no motive except for the payment that Mrs. Moody made to him to kill her husband. Fact two, that Mr. Ehrman didn't have the knowledge he needed to commit this murder, and that the only one with that knowledge was the defendant, Miss Ellen Moody. And third, that there is ample physical evidence connecting the two of them together in a murder for hire conspiracy. Now, I just want to walk through each of those facts real quick and give you a preview of what evidence you're going to hear. The first, the motive. And let's start with the defendant, members of the jury. You're going to hear that she had a motive as old as time. Her husband had been cheating on her, had been cheating on her with a younger woman, a student of his. And it made Mrs. Moody, understandably, very angry. But it's more than that, members of the jury, because you're going to hear it's not just her husband's infidelity. She stood to gain financially if her cheating husband was out of the way. And that's because she had an insurance policy out on her husband. $1 million right in her pocket if her husband somehow disappears. Members of the jury, you're going to hear that she used that expected payout. That she told Mr. Ehrman, I can only give you $10K up front, but if you do this on the back end, once I collect, you collect. $40,000 to you. You're going to hear that $50,000 to Michael Ehrman was his only motive to commit this murder. In other words, he would not have committed this crime without the defendant. Which brings us to our second point, the knowledge. You're going to hear all today about the plot that those two crafted together. And what you're going to hear is that they picked a time when Miss Moody was out of town, that they picked a time when they knew the victim would be home, that they picked a place that Mr. Ehrman could easily get into through an unlocked door, that they left the alarm system off, an alarm system only the defendant had access to, by the way. You're going to hear time after time about things Mr. Ehrman could not have known, could not have done without the defendant's help. Which will bring us to the physical evidence. And the physical evidence is going to be important, members of the jury. It is. Because, and I just want to put our cards on the table here, we are building our case around Michael Ehrman. And Mr. Ehrman is not a Boy Scout, to put it nicely. Mr. Ehrman, as I've told you, committed cold-blooded murder. And after he did so, he lied to the police about what he'd done in his first interview with them. He's testifying here pursuant to a plea agreement. A plea agreement that allows him to avoid the death penalty and bump his sentence down to a 30-year max. So members of the jury, we're not going to ask you to take Mr. Ehrman at his word. We certainly didn't. What we're going to ask you to do is listen to his story when he testifies and compare it to the physical evidence we're going to present. And I think what you'll see is that we have videos and photos and documentary evidence, all of it showing, all of it corroborating Mr. Ehrman's story. You're going to see a call log documenting calls between the defendant and Mr. Ehrman long after his PI work was done. You're going to see a PayPal transfer for that $10,000 that I told you about, the upfront payment for the murder for hire. You're going to see GPS records that puts Mr. Ehrman right at the Moody's home the morning when he says they were planning out the murder. You're going to see, members of the jury, the alarm records from that alarm system I told you about. And you'll see that the one day, and I mean that, the one day when the alarm system was shut off was the very day when Mr. Ehrman needed access to kill Dr. James Moody. At the end of the day, members of the jury, we think this case is going to come down to some uncontested facts. Facts we want you to keep an eye out for. Mrs. Moody had a million reasons to kill her husband, and the man who unquestionably shot him, she paid $10,000 just days before Dr. Moody ended up dead. It'll be your job to figure out whether that's a coincidence or whether it's a coherent part of a scheme that those two put together, members of the jury. And we submit to you the testimony and evidence will show you it's the latter. Show you that Mr. Ehrman would not have done this alone, could not have done this alone, did not do it alone. She was his full partner, and that's why, at the end of this trial, we'll ask you to find her guilty. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Would defense like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
May it please the court. 30 times during the government's opening statement, they mentioned a man by the name of Michael Ehrman. Members of the jury, this is a case about Michael Ehrman. This is a case about a man who cannot be trusted. You see, like Mr. Wallace said during his opening statement, today it is undisputed. Undisputed that Michael Ehrman is a liar, a thief, a fraud, and a felon. It is undisputed that on September 9th of 2014, Michael Ehrman crept into the Moody household. Michael Ehrman waited for James Moody to come home. Michael Ehrman shot and killed James Moody with Michael Ehrman's gun. It is undisputed that after Michael Ehrman was arrested, he told 3 different stories to investigators. And not once did he mention Ellen Moody until the government mentioned the death penalty. Members of the jury, the evidence will show that Michael Ehrman is a man who cannot be trusted. So let's rewind. August of 2014. Today you'll learn that at the time Michael Ehrman is working as a private investigator in Louisiana. But business hasn't been too good. You see, he's just been convicted of theft, and his license to practice has been revoked. Today you'll learn things start to look up for Mr. Ehrman, though. He's got a new client, Mrs. Moody. She doesn't know about his history. She just wants him to follow her husband and determine whether or not he's been cheating on her. Now, during his opening statement, Mr. Wallace said that today you'll learn Michael Ehrman didn't have the knowledge to commit this crime, but what you're actually going to learn, folks, is that Michael Ehrman followed James Moody day in and day out for 10 days. Today you'll learn that Michael Ehrman knew James Moody's schedule, knew where he worked. Everywhere James Moody went, Michael Ehrman followed. Today you'll learn that everything James Moody did, Michael Ehrman photographed. You'll learn that after he took these pictures, after he collected this evidence, he showed it to Mrs. Moody. She paid him the remainder of the money she owed him for the investigative work, $10,000, and then their business was done. Today, the evidence will show that Michael Ehrman heads back to Louisiana. But when he gets home, he decides the $12,500 he's already made from the Moody family, it just isn't enough. You'll learn that he gets this idea. The evidence will show he decides to blackmail James Moody. It'll be easy, he thinks. You'll learn that Michael Ehrman knew that James Moody hadn't been talking to his wife about the affair. That Michael Ehrman knew that he could ask this man for money and he would pay him to keep it quiet. So he gets back in his car, drives back out here to Waco, Texas. Video footage that you see today will show Michael Ehrman slipping a manila envelope under James Moody's office door. The forensic evidence from that manila envelope will show you that the only fingerprints belonged to Michael Ehrman. Members of the jury, you're going to learn that that night, September 9th of 2014, Michael Ehrman sat down in front of James Moody and blackmailed him. But instead of bringing cash, James Moody also brought a gun. You'll learn that Michael Ehrman drew first, he shot and he killed this man, and then he fled Texas. You'll learn that on his way home to New Orleans, he gets pulled over by the Louisiana State Police. Today, the evidence will show that he tells the police one version of the story, a second version of the story to the FBI, a third version of the story to the grand jury here in Waco. Members of the jury, we acknowledge that one of those stories is the same story the government told you. But the evidence will show that Michael Ehrman didn't tell that story, the story that implicates my client, until they threatened to kill him. Now, folks, it's a common admonition from a trial lawyer like myself or Mr. Wallace to tell you to pay close attention to the evidence. It's important. And that's true. But it's also important to pay attention to who's providing that evidence. Today you'll see that when the entirety of the government's case relies on the word of Michael Ehrman, they will not be able to meet their burden of proof. And that's why at the end of today's trial, I'm going to come before you and ask you to find Ellen Moody not guilty. Because Michael Ehrman can't be trusted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I ask the government to call their first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The government calls Mr. Michael Ehrman to the stand.
I'd ask the marshals to bring in Mr. Irvin.
Point of order, Your Honor, before Mr. Ehrman takes his stand. I know you preferred us to stand at the podium for examination, but permission to enter the well during cross for my technology to put evidence up on the screen?
Well, you can make the request at the time.
Certainly, Your Honor.
So, Irvin, take the witness stand, and I'll swear you in from the witness stand. Sir, if you raise your right hand, solemnly tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Be seated. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Ehrman.
Mr. Ehrman, I notice you're wearing prison garb. Can you tell us where you currently reside?
Yeah, I'm currently in the federal penitentiary in Seagoville, Texas, just up the road.
On what charges are you being held?
Murder for hire.
Did you commit the murder for hire?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I killed Dr. James Moody on September 9th of 2014 because his wife hired me to do it.
Well, sir, do you see the woman who paid you to commit that murder in the courtroom?
Yeah, I do.
Could you point her out to us by telling us where she's sitting and an article of clothing she's wearing?
Ellen Moody is sitting at that table over there in the black dress with the white necklace on.
Your Honor, we ask the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
Well, sir, I want to zoom all the way back to the beginning and talk about how you and Ellen Moody got linked up in the first place, all right?
Okay.
Now, before you went to jail, what did you do for work?
Well, I was a private investigator. I owned my own private investigation firm in New Orleans.
And is that how you met Ellen Moody?
It is, yeah.
How so?
Well, on, I guess it would have been the 18th of August, middle of August, I got a phone call on my cell phone from a woman who identified herself as Ellen Moody. She called me and asked me to investigate whether or not her husband was cheating on her. She told me that a friend of hers had referred me to her.
And do you agree to look into that for her?
Yeah, I did. You know that cheating spouses, those things of that nature are kind of right up my alley, what I do in investigating. And so I did. We talked about my rate, and I agreed. Once we reached an agreement, I agreed to look into the matter.
What was your rate?
Well, the way I operate is on a retainer fee up front, and Miss Moody paid me $2,500 for a retainer fee, and then we agreed on an hourly rate, and I'd bill my expenses and my hours at $100 an hour. I'd just send her a final invoice after the job was completed.
Now, once you got paid, did you look into what she asked you to?
Yeah. She asked me to come meet her a couple days later in Waco. I drove up from New Orleans and met with her, and she gave me some more specifics about what she wanted me to do.
And in your surveillance of Dr. Moody, what did you find?
Well, the man was certainly cheating on his wife. I used my camera to photograph a lot of the surveillance that I did, and several of the photographs were very revealing, compromising. The proof was kind of in the pudding in those pictures, and so I was ready to report that to my client, Miss Moody.
And did you report it to your client?
Yeah, I did. After I got those pictures, I told her it was time to meet. I'd reached a conclusion.
And where at? Where'd y'all meet?
Well, we met at a bar called Barnett's Pub in Waco one afternoon. That's where she wanted to meet.
And I think we actually have video of that meeting. Your Honor, it's Exhibit 18 that's been pre-admitted. May we play that for the jury?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sir, so first off, where is this, what we're looking at here?
You're looking at the inside at Barnett's Pub. It's a bar here in Waco. That date up there, August 30th, 1:51 in the afternoon. Like I said, it was the second Saturday I'd been in Waco, and we agreed to meet that afternoon.
And that gentleman at the far end of the bar, who's that?
Yeah, at the far end on the right side of the screen, that's me.
All right, let's play this a little, Ellie. And can we pause right there? That woman who just came in and is settling in next to you, who's that?
Mrs. Moody.
Ellie, can you play the rest here? So I see you've got something in front of you, sir. What is it?
Well, it's the envelope with those photographs I talked about. It's kind of the results of my investigation.
And what did you just do?
I just slipped them to Mrs. Moody so she could see what I had discovered.
All right, I'd like to take a look at what she's looking at right now. Your Honor, may we display what's been pre-admitted as Exhibit 22?
Yes, go ahead.
Is this one of the photographs you took?
Yeah, it is.
Who are those two folks?
Well, the man in the blue robe is Dr. James Moody, Mrs. Moody's wife, or excuse me, Mrs. Moody's husband. And the woman in the white robe is Lila Green, Dr. Moody's teaching assistant.
And where was this picture taken, sir?
That is on the back patio of Mrs. Moody's home. While I was doing the investigation, Mrs. Moody had left town, and Dr. Moody had a little rendezvous at the home, as you can see.
All right, let's look at another picture that was in that envelope. I think we have Exhibit 19, which has been pre-admitted. May we show that?
Yes, you may publish.
All right, now, who are the two folks in the bottom sort of left-hand corner? Thank you, Ellie. Who are
Sure,
those?
that on the left, the man there is Dr. Moody, and on the right there is Lila Green.
And what are they walking into here?
That's a hotel here in Waco. While I was following Dr. Moody around, that Torino's his car. He parked there at the hotel and took her in, and they were in there for a few hours that afternoon.
All right, so I want to bump back to Mrs. Moody's reaction to seeing these photographs. We're going to go back to Exhibit 18.
Go ahead.
So after she looked at those photographs, whose beer did she grab there?
She's a little upset. She reached across me and took a big swig out of my drink.
And we just saw her storm out. Did she say a word to you?
She didn't say a word at all. She stormed out of the bar.
Could you tell whether she was upset?
I think we could all tell in that video.
All right, sir. So after she left the bar, what'd you do next?
Well, I finished my drink, but I went back to New Orleans. My job was done.
And you say your job was done. After a normal job like this, do you have much more contact with the client?
No, not really. I mean, I'm going to send a final invoice with my billing rate, but that's it, usually.
What do you mean, usually? Did something different happen here?
Something very different happened here.
Can you tell us what exactly happened?
Well, I mean, what exactly happened is my final rate on my relationship with the client evolved over the next week.
Now, did you two continue to communicate?
Yeah, Miss Moody called me the following Tuesday. It would have been September the 2nd, and called me up.
And I think we have a log showing that call, Exhibit 13, that's been pre-admitted. May we display that?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I do.
Whose number's up top there?
The 504 number is my cell phone. It's a New Orleans number.
And the 254 number?
The 254 number is a Waco number, Miss Moody's number. She told me to save in her phone, in my phone as her.
Now, just to be sure we're all on the same page, what date did you all meet in the bar and you showed her those photos?
The day we met in the bar was August the 30th.
So those last three calls, before or after you showed her the photos?
The last three calls, 2, 3, and 4, or the next week.
And cumulatively, how long were you talking in those three calls?
Oh, over an hour, I think.
Well, sir, what were you talking about in those three calls?
Well, they kind of changed.
Explain that for us.
Yeah. That first phone call, Mrs. Moody seemed upset and was asking me about when I was going to send my final bill. I told her, I got to calculate my time, and I was going to get an invoice ready. But it evolved. When I say that, I mean the second one. She's angry as hell. I mean, madder than a hornet, and cussing her husband and telling me how he deserved to be taken out.
Let me stop you there. Were those her words? He deserves to be taken out?
Yes.
What about the third call? What did she say in that one?
Well, I didn't really take her serious in the second one. In the third phone call, she was collected and calculating. I could tell she had planned something. And
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Okay, sustain.
Sir, so without telling us what you think Mrs. Moody was thinking, I just want to ask you, what did she say to you?
she told me, directly asked me if I knew someone who could take her husband out.
And did she ask you that once?
No,
How many times do you think she brought up killing her husband?
numerous times, over and over again.
And when she asked you if you knew anybody who would kill her husband, what did you say?
Well, I told her for $50,000, I'd be her Huckleberry. I told her I'd do it for 50 grand.
And did she agree?
Yeah.
Now,
Is
did
that-
y'all...
is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. I've let you go a little bit, but
Now, did y'all agree on the $50,000 payment and when it would be paid?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, yes, we did.
And when would it be paid?
Well, Miss Moody told me that she couldn't pay all $50,000 right then. She told me she could only pay $10,000. So I said, okay, that she could pay me like a down payment, $10,000 down payment. And she said after the deed was done, those were her words, she'd pay me the remaining 40 grand.
Well, how would she do that, the remaining 40 grand, if she didn't have it up front?
She told me she could collect the proceeds from the life insurance plan on her husband's life. And so after the deed was done, she would pay me with the $40,000, the proceeds from that life insurance.
All right, so that's the plan you guys hatched. I want to talk now about whether or not you put that into action.
Okay.
Now, did you go back to Waco at that point,
After we got off the phone,
after y'all settled the deal?
yeah, she paid me the $10,000 and then asked me to meet her at her home on September the 9th that morning. And so I drove back to Waco from New Orleans.
And I just want to touch on the first part of what you just said. She actually paid you $10,000,
Yeah, she did, same way that we'd done our previous transactions.
which was how?
PayPal, way you can wire money over the internet.
And I think we have an exhibit documenting that payment. Can we display pre-admitted exhibit 15?
yes, go ahead.
Is that the PayPal transfer?
Yeah, this is the receipt that I got when Miss Moody, you see there, it's sent from, Miss Moody sent me the 10 grand on September the 5th. That's the same day that we had that phone conversation.
Okay, so now back to what we were talking about. After the payment, where do you go?
After I got the money, I was supposed to meet Miss Moody at her home in Waco. So I left New Orleans and drove to Waco to meet with Mrs. Moody at, we were supposed to meet at about 8 in the morning on September 9th.
All right. And at that meeting, what did y'all discuss?
How I was going to get in a room alone with her husband to kill him.
And just sort of broad strokes, what was the plan you guys laid out?
Well, Mrs. Moody was leaving town. She told me that she gave me an envelope that had a note to get her husband to come home to his home office building there at the property. She told me that the back door of that home office building was always unlocked. She wouldn't set the alarm, and I could sneak up to that back door and be waiting on him and kill him when he got home.
Okay, so that was a lot. Let's break that down sort of in pieces for the jury. What did she tell you about where she would be as this murder was committed?
As soon as we got done with our meeting, she was leaving town.
Okay. And what did she tell you about where her daughter would be as this murder was committed?
She was a student at Baylor, would be at the university, I guess.
What did she tell you about when her husband would be home?
She told me he had a speaking event, some type of poetry speaking event that night.
Your Honor, I object to the display here. Counsel's testifying. The witness's testimony speaks for itself. This bullet point breakdown is better reserved for closing argument.
Yes,
Maybe heard on that?
yes, go ahead.
It's a demonstrative presentation of evidence, preserving the witness's exact testimony.
Well, after his testimony, you didn't ask to do it, though, so.
All right, Your Honor, I apologize not for asking. May we, as he rattles off answers, may we put something up on the demonstrative that reflects the witness's testimony?
Well, yes, go ahead. But ask each time.
Of course,
so.
I'm sorry, I forgot on this one.
I know in the old days we'd do it on the chalkboard, put it on the chalkboard,
Right.
but go ahead.
So, sir, what did she say about when her husband would be home?
She said he had a speaking event that night, and so he was going to be gone, and she gave me an envelope that she said would get him home to this home office at 9 o'clock that night.
All right, Nellie, will you put the next one up there? And what did she say about where he would go once he got home?
She said that the note specifically told him to go to that home office. It had a sign over the door that said Casa Guidi. That's what they referred to it as, was the Casa Guidi office. She said he would go to that building because the note said to do so.
And what did she tell you about how you were supposed to get into that home office?
Well, the home office, the Moody's had some horses there in the property, and the back of the home office is like stables. She told me to walk up through the stables to the back door of the office building, and that the back door would be unlocked because Dr. Moody always left it unlocked.
Did she say that specifically, the back door will be unlocked?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about whether there would be security system, alarm system problems?
She told me that she wouldn't arm the alarm system whenever. She said she was not going to arm the alarm system, and then she left town. So there shouldn't have been a problem with the alarm.
So these 6 things, sir, before you talked to Mrs. Moody, did you know any of these 6 things?
Before I talked with her? No,
Right.
She told me all of these things.
And if you hadn't talked to Miss Moody, could you have found out any of these 6 things?
I don't know how.
Now, sir, with the information she gave you, did you carry out the plan you guys had?
I did, yeah.
Can you just tell us, once you walked in that door she told you to go in, what happened?
When Moody got home, I was sure that he was alone. I hadn't heard any voices. Opened the unlocked door and quickly approached him while he was sitting behind his desk. Had my pistol, raised it, never said a word, and shot him in the chest.
Now, Mr. Hari, in opening statement, said that you came in, sat down across from him, and demanded money. Did that happen?
No.
Now, sir, after you shot Dr. Moody, what then? Where'd you go?
Mrs. Moody had told me to trash the place to make it look like a break-in. So I kind of pushed over some furniture and ruffled up some stuff, and hightailed it across state line back towards New Orleans.
Now you say across state lines. Were you going back to where you're from? Is that right?
Yeah, I'd come over from New Orleans to carry out the plan, and now I was going back.
All right, so let me just ask a little more about that. When you guys agreed to the plan originally, where were you?
I was in New Orleans,
And when you carried out the plan, where were you?
in Waco, Texas.
So did you travel across state lines with the intent and purpose of committing a murder?
Yeah, absolutely. After she paid me and promised to pay me the rest of it, that was the whole plan.
Now you said you were heading home to Louisiana. Did you make it all the way home?
I didn't, no.
What happened?
Oh, about 3 in the morning, give or take, I was outside of Lake Charles and I got pulled over.
And did you speak with the police when you got pulled over?
I did, yeah, I was actually arrested.
And once you were arrested, did they interview you, ask you any questions?
Yeah, later that morning, they interviewed me.
About Mrs. Moody's husband and what had happened?
Yeah, it surprised me. They sprang some questions about Dr. James Moody on me while in that interview.
Did you tell them the truth?
No.
Why not?
I made up a story when they started asking me questions because I was still expecting $40,000 from Mrs. Moody. If I just gave up Miss Moody and told them about the plan, then I was never going to see that money. I was never going to be able to make the money I was expecting to make. And besides that, I was surprised, and I just repeated the only thing I'd heard that worked on TV, self-defense. Obviously, it didn't work. But no, I made up a story to the officers there, just trying to figure out a way to get out.
And have you since come clean, sir?
Yeah, I did after that.
In the very next interview with the police?
The next time I spoke with anybody, yeah, I told what happened.
And after that first time when you told what happened, has your story changed since that point?
No, it's not a story. It's what happened. It's the truth.
Mr. Ehrman, I want to just check and see whether your story lines up with the evidence that we have. Your Honor, may we display what's pre-marked as Exhibit 58?
Okay, go ahead.
And Ellie, can you zoom in on the top box? Can you read what's under MetLife for me, sir?
It says individual life-death claim form.
And the insured information, can you read the name line, line 2?
It says name, James Redding Moody.
And can we bump to the claimant section? Whose name is in the claimant section?
It says name, Ellen White Moody.
Sir, have you ever seen this document before right now?
No,
And did you know about this document before you came clean to the police?
no.
Now, the next part of what you told us that you agreed to with Mrs. Moody, you told us part of what you agreed to was slipping some sort of note in an envelope under Dr. Moody's door, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, at his office at the school.
Your Honor, can we display pre-admitted Exhibit 33? It's a video.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, do you recognize that hallway?
I recognize the hallway, yeah.
And can you tell us where that is?
That's it's the Armstrong Browning Library at Baylor University. It's where Dr. Moody's work office was.
Which one of those doors?
Well, it's the one that I end up slipping the envelope under. That's me there with a poor disguise hat and glasses. That was Dr. Moody's door that I slipped the envelope under that Mrs. Moody had given me.
Now, sir, when you came clean, did you know that video existed?
Hell no, I didn't know there were surveillance videos and all of this stuff.
Sir, I'd ask you to try and keep the profanity to a minimum.
Yes, sir, let's try to do that.
Sorry.
I want to ask you about one more thing. You told us that Mrs. Moody told you she'd set the alarm system off.
She did, yeah.
Ellie, can we display Exhibit 34? This one's been pre-admitted.
Go ahead.
And again, can we zoom in at the top? Can you read what's under the company name, sir?
Home security alarm system records.
And the address, do you recognize
I'm sorry, yeah, 2629 Kendall Lane in Waco. That's where the Moody's lived.
And I'm actually going to approach you with a full copy, if that's all right, Your Honor. May I approach with a full copy?
You may approach, go ahead.
Here you are, sir. Well, sir, can you look at the entries in the table there?
Sure.
And what do those appear to show?
It says date, time, activity. Looks like it's showing whether or not the system was armed or disarmed.
And I'd like you to look through there for me. On page 1, is there any weekday where the alarm system's not set?
Monday armed, Tuesday armed, Wednesday armed. No.
What about page 2?
Thursday armed, Friday armed. No, it's armed on every weekday.
Page 3?
No, it's armed on every weekday.
Page 4?
There's one weekday on page 4 where it was not armed.
Could you tell the jury which day that was?
It's Tuesday, September the 9th of 2014.
Is that the day Mrs. Moody told you she'd leave it off?
Yes, it is.
The only day on the log is the day Mrs. Moody told you she'd set it off?
It is, and it's also the day that I shot and killed her husband.
Sir, before I let you go, I just want to ask you, would you have committed the crime you committed without Ellen Moody?
No, she hired me to do it, and she paid me to do it.
Could you have committed the crime you committed without Ellen Moody?
No, I wouldn't have had all the stuff that I needed to carry it out.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Ehrman, would you consider yourself a trustworthy person?
A trustworthy person?
That's what I asked.
Well, I've been convicted of murder and I've lied to the cops. I don't know that I would say I'm the most trustworthy person. No.
All right, well, let's talk about that, Mr. Ehrman. In 2011, you were convicted for theft, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
You stole $1,500 worth of property. Isn't that true?
That sounds about right.
You were convicted of a felony.
Yeah, like you just said.
All right, and after that conviction, you had your license to practice revoked, right?
To private investigator's license, yeah, it was suspended.
And you never filed to renew that license, did you?
Nope.
But you kept practicing as a private investigator
Yeah,
without a license.
that's true.
And you didn't tell your clients you were practicing without a license, did you?
I don't think they asked. I don't think I told them no.
Well, let's talk about the work you did in this case. Now, you said something on direct examination, and I wrote it down. You said the information you had regarding Mrs. Moody on September 9th was information you could not have known unless she told you. You said that, right?
Yeah, generally, I think
More
so.
specifically, when opposing counsel asked you if you could have known it, you said, and I quote, "I don't know how," right?
Sounds right, yeah.
But Mr. Ehrman, you just told us you're a private investigator, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I was doing. I didn't have a license.
It's your job to follow people around, right?
Yeah,
It's your job to gather information about people, right?
when that's what I'm hired to do, sure.
It's your job to figure out things about people that sometimes they don't want you to know, right?
Yeah, digging up the dirt is something that a PI does, sure.
And in this case, you were hired by Mrs. Moody to follow her husband around. Isn't that true?
Yes,
When you first met her, she gave you some information about her husband. Isn't that true?
yeah.
She gave you a key to his office, right?
She did. She gave me a manual key to get in, the one I used there in that video.
She didn't give you that key to kill her husband, right?
At the time when she gave me the key, I don't think I could kill her husband with the key, no.
She wanted you to take pictures.
Yeah, she wanted to know if he was having an affair at first.
And you agreed to take the case, right?
Right, yeah.
But first, you talked money.
I'm sorry?
You talked about your fee, right?
Yes, we talked about my fee.
You asked for a $2,500 retainer. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
But that wasn't all you asked for your work.
No.
You also had a $100 an hour agreement, right?
Yeah, well, we had an agreement where I'd bill my hours and my expenses, yeah, and $100 an hour.
Well, let's talk about what it was you were doing for Mrs. Moody. You were following James Moody around. Isn't that true?
Yeah,
You followed him around for 10 days, right?
something like that, yeah.
From August 20th to August 30th?
Yes.
That's 10 days.
Sounds like it to me. You're pretty good at math.
You followed him in the morning, right?
Some days in the mornings, yeah.
When he went to work?
Sometimes he went to work pretty early. I
Followed
kind of sleep in the morning.
You followed him in the evening when he came home. Isn't that true?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes you followed him to hotels.
Yeah, you saw the picture where I followed him to a hotel with his girlfriend.
But you weren't just charging Mrs. Moody for the hours you spent. You also charged her for your expenses. Isn't that true?
Again, yeah, that's what I just said.
And Mr. Ehrman, we talked about one of your felonies from 2011. You also pled guilty to a felony here in Texas, right?
The murder for hire?
The murder of James Moody.
Murder for hire, yeah, that's what I pled to.
You killed James Moody. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's what I just talked about.
On September 9th of 2014, you were in the Moody residence.
Yes.
You shot and killed James Moody
Well,
with your gun.
let's be real clear, though. I think it
Mr.
wasn't the
Ehrman,
Moody
there was no question
residence.
pending. You shot
The answer
and
to that
killed.
question was no.
You
Objection.
shot.
I just asked that the witness be allowed to finish her response.
Well, he's kind of being non-responsive. Go ahead and ask your question again, and listen to the question being asked and then answer the question.
You shot and killed James Moody with your gun. Isn't that true?
That's true, yes.
That's not a gun you got from Mrs. Moody.
No, I carried my Colt 45 around.
Now I want to talk about a video you saw on direct examination. You remember that video, right?
Got to be a little more specific. We showed a couple of them.
The video where you slipped an envelope under James Moody's door.
Yeah,
You told us that you got that envelope from Mrs. Moody.
right.
So it's your testimony Mrs. Moody was holding that envelope, right?
She gave it to me, yeah.
At some point, she touched that envelope.
She gave it to me, yeah.
At some point, her fingers and fingerprints were on that envelope.
I don't know how you pull fingerprints.
Her fingers were on that envelope.
Yeah, she held it.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
Yes, go ahead.
And then she handed that envelope over to you, right? If you could take this, sir. She handed that envelope over to you. Isn't that true?
Yes, again, she gave me the envelope.
This is your version of what happened.
This is what happened.
All right, but this is what you told us on direct.
Yes, this is what I just said.
So now your hands are on the envelope. Isn't that true?
I'm holding the envelope.
Your fingers are on the envelope. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach and retrieve?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrman, I want to talk about what you did after you killed James Moody. You made a mess of his office. Isn't that true?
Yes.
You knocked chairs over,
Yes.
kicked in a door.
Yeah, I kicked the back door in.
You wanted to make it look like a burglary. Isn't that true?
That's what Miss Moody told me to do, yeah.
You were trying to mislead the police.
I was trying to do what Mrs. Moody had hired me to do.
It's not what I asked you. You were trying to mislead the police.
I was trying to do what Mrs. Moody hired me to do.
Well, it's true you didn't want to get caught, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You fled back to Louisiana. Isn't that true?
Yes.
But you got caught.
Yes.
I want to talk about what you told the Louisiana police. When they questioned you, you told them you knocked on Mr. Moody's door, right?
I told them a story. Everything I was telling them was a lie.
All right, I want to break down exactly what your story was. You knocked on James Moody's door, right?
That's a lie. Are you asking me if I told them that? Yeah, I said that. It was a lie. All the things I said to those officers were a lie.
You said everything you told those officers was a lie?
It was a story.
You told them you shot and killed James Moody, right?
Well, that part wasn't a lie.
Okay, so some parts of the story were true, right?
That I shot and killed him, yeah, that was true.
Some parts of the story were a lie.
Yeah, I made up a self-defense story. That part was a lie.
I want to break down what parts of the story were a lie. You told the police that you sat down across from James Moody, right?
I think I said something like that, which was untrue, yeah.
It was a lie.
Right, like I just said.
You told them you talked to James Moody, right?
I think so. I said something like that again. Everything I was telling him was a lie.
So that was a lie.
Yes.
You told them James Moody said something back, right?
I don't remember saying that, but sure, again, everything I said in that interview was a lie.
Now, after you spoke to the Louisiana police, you were charged with murder, right?
Yes. Later.
You took a plea deal, right?
For the murder for hire charge, yeah.
You took a plea deal from the United States government.
Yes, like we talked about.
And they promised you, at least it's your understanding, that for your testimony today, you would face a maximum sentence of 30 years.
You said that kind of confusingly.
I'll break it down. For your testimony today, you're no longer facing the death penalty, right?
If I testified truthfully, then they've agreed not to seek the death penalty. Yes.
Isn't
I
it
think
true?
I think a judge decides that. You could tell me better than I
Well,
would.
you said a judge decides whether or not you get the death penalty, but you know who decides whether or not you testified truthfully, right?
That'd be me.
Well, isn't it within the sole discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office to determine whether or not you testified truthfully today?
I don't know. They know what the truth is.
Would you recognize a copy of your plea agreement if I showed it to you?
Probably.
Would that refresh your memory?
What are you, about what?
Well, I'll show you. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness after showing opposing counsel?
Yes, and what exhibit is this?
This is not an exhibit, Your Honor. It's actually a plea agreement that this witness entered into.
Very well. Show the prosecutor.
May I approach the witness?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Ehrman, I just handed you a document. This is your plea agreement, right?
It is.
If you could turn to page 6, section 23, please read to yourself quietly and then look up when you're done.
What am I supposed to be remembering?
Whether or not it's within the sole discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office to determine whether or not you're telling the truth.
Yeah, it says something about like that.
Thank you, Mr. Ehrman. Pass the witness, Your Honor. Permission to approach and retrieve the document?
Yes, go ahead.
Give that to him. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Ehrman, you were just asked a bunch of questions about the plea agreement you reached with the United States. Do you remember those?
Yes.
What is the one way you can lose that plea agreement?
By lying?
Sir, have you lied to the members of the jury here today?
Absolutely not.
All the evidence we talked about on direct examination at the end there, the life insurance policy. Did you know about that before you came forward?
No, the only thing I knew about any life insurance was what Miss Moody told me, that she would pay me $40,000 after she collected on the life insurance of her husband.
The alarm records, had you seen those before you came clean?
Hadn't seen any records, I just knew that she told me she wouldn't set the alarm.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Any additional questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you'll go back in the custody of the marshals. Is the governor call their next witness?
We call Sergeant Keith Vaughn.
So if you raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, please take the witness stand. Go ahead, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
My name is Keith Vaughn.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a sergeant with the Waco Police Department.
And what unit are you in with Waco PD?
I supervise the forensics unit.
And what do officers in the forensics unit do?
I supervise the crime scene unit, which are the ones that go out and actually process crime scenes. I also supervise the computer forensics lab and our fingerprint identification section.
Now, were you involved in the investigation of Dr. James Moody's death?
I was.
And specifically, what evidence did you look at with respect to Dr. Moody's death?
I was called to the scene on a suspected homicide, and it was part of my job at that time to document the scene and process the scene for any evidence that may be found.
After the physical evidence at the scene, did you look at anything else?
After we processed the scene, we did examine the body and process the evidence that was collected.
What about electronic records of communications, cell phones? Did you look at things like that?
We did look at a cell phone bill from Sprint.
I'm sorry. Witnesses. Did you interview any witnesses?
Yes. When we got to the scene, I did talk briefly with Lila Green, and Then over the phone, I talked with Mrs. Moody.
So those three things are what I want to center on: the physical evidence, the electronic records, and the witnesses, all right?
Yes.
And let's start with the physical evidence.
Okay.
First off, what kind of training do you have in collecting and analyzing physical evidence?
Well, I've got over 30 years experience in law enforcement. I've been to training in forensics and crime scene related matters all over the United States. I also hold a master peace officer's license. I also am a instructor in numerous...
Your Honor, we're willing to stipulate to this witness's expertise.
Okay, very well. And
Your Honor, we think it's helpful for the jury to hear exactly how much experience Sergeant Vaughn has. I promise we'll keep it brief.
okay, we'll just keep it brief.
I also am an instructor in a number of colleges around this area. I've also been trained in different and new methods of collecting and processing evidence.
Sir, have you ever testified as a court-certified expert before?
I have.
In what fields?
In bloodstain pattern analysis, firearms-related injuries, and crime scene investigations.
And have you applied all that experience and training to actual investigations before?
I have.
About how many?
I would say I've been on over 200 homicides in my career.
So, sir, I want to turn to this homicide investigation then. What was the first thing you did when you got to the scene?
Once I arrived on scene, I went in and viewed the scene in its totality, noticing any items that may be considered as evidence, and then would begin documenting the scene with photographs to ensure that it was documented as we found it that day.
Now, when you arrived, was there a body on the scene?
There was.
Did you take photographs of that body?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to display one of those photographs if we could. What's been pre-admitted as Exhibit 29.
Okay, go ahead and publish.
Well, sir, can you tell us what that is?
This is a photograph of Dr. Moody at his desk.
And that surface underneath him, what did you just say that was?
That's his desk.
Now, did you take any photos of the area around the desk?
Yes, sir.
Specifically, what was just on the other side of the desk facing towards Dr. Moody?
There was a chair laying on its side across the desk from where Mr. Moody was.
Did you get a picture of that?
Yes, sir.
I think we have that as Exhibit 7A. May we display that?
Yes, go ahead.
Is that the photograph you were just talking about?
It is.
All right. Now, I know you collected a lot of physical evidence, but I just want to focus on the evidence that's right around this point. The body, the desk, the chair, all right?
Okay.
Now, were you here while Mr. Ehrman testified?
I was.
So did you hear how he described the crime he committed?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear what he said he did once he got inside the door?
Yes, sir.
And what was it that he said?
Well, he said that he staged the scene like a burglary. He knocked papers over and turned over furniture.
Is that consistent with what you found?
It is.
And what about where he fired the shot from? Do you remember what he said about that?
He said that he was standing and fired a distance away from the victim, striking him in the chest.
Now, we heard in the defense's, were you here for the defense's opening?
I was.
And did you hear Mr. Haree said that actually Mr. Ehrman had sat down in a chair across the desk and fired from there?
Yes, sir.
So I want to talk about whether the evidence is more consistent with Mr. Ehrman's account or with the defense's. Now, was there any physical evidence at the scene that allowed you to assess where the shooter was standing?
Well, in my opinion, where the shell casing that was ejected from the 45 when it was fired, its location led me to believe that the victim was a distance away from the shooter due to where the casing was, which was by the front door. Also, the distance that the desk was between the victim and the shooter was approximately 2.5 to 3 feet in depth, and the chair was fairly close on both sides of the desk, which meant that the shooter and the victim, if they were very close, there would have been, in my opinion, more blast evidence on the victim.
And what about the bullet trajectory? What did that tell you?
The bullet trajectory took a downward angle, struck in the victim's chest, and then, of according to the autopsy, traveled downward from that location.
All right, so we just mentioned three things: the shell casing, the residue, the bullet trajectory. I want to walk through all three.
Okay.
The bullet trajectory evidence, where did you go to document that?
Well, upon looking at the victim, we saw an entrance wound, which was to the chest, but there was no exit wound. So it was not possible for us to do a bullet trajectory analysis at the scene. We were dependent upon the autopsy report for that trajectory.
And did you tell the ME that you'd like that bullet trajectory analysis?
Pardon?
When you handed the body over, did you tell the ME that you'd like that bullet trajectory analysis done?
That was part of their analysis, yes.
And I think we have the report that they filed, so I'd like to put that up. Exhibit 37, I believe. That's pre-admitted.
Okay, you may publish.
Now, do you recognize that? Is that the cover of the autopsy report?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what specific part documented their findings about the bullet trajectory?
I believe it's the last page, it is kind of a synopsis of what they refer to as the final analysis.
And was there a diagram they drew up?
There is.
Can we put that up, Ellie? Is that the diagram, sir?
It is.
And can you tell us which of the lines drawn on that diagram shows the bullet trajectory?
The lines, they're up the upper chest on both sides of the diagram.
And is it that hand-drawn in line or the computerized line that's straight?
No, the computerized lines are the ones that are showing the actual trajectory.
Now, it looks like it's coming in at a downward angle there. Is that right?
Yes.
And as a crime scene investigator, trained in analyzing this, what does that say to you?
That the bullet was traveling in a downward angle across the body.
And what does that mean about where the shooter was?
It means that the gun would have been higher than the victim and traveled in that downward angle.
Is that consistent with, as the defense said, Mr. Ehrman walking in, sitting down across from Dr. Moody, and then firing?
In my opinion, no, sir.
Is it consistent with what Mr. Ehrman said, standing up and firing from behind the chair?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the residue analysis as well. Is that in the autopsy report too?
I believe that it discusses the gunshot residue analysis and there not being any present.
The gunshot residue analysis on the shirt. Do you remember the autopsy portion about that?
Yes.
And can we put that up on the screen, Ellie? Now, do you recognize that portion of the autopsy report?
Yes.
And that highlighted portion there, did you rely on that in your analysis?
Yes.
And what did that tell you?
Well, it says that the shooter would have had been 4 to 6 feet away from the victim when the shot was fired.
And I want to talk about what that says about whether he was sitting or standing. Now, can we go back to the photo of the desk and the chair, exhibits 29 and 7A? May we display those, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Now, in the photo of that chair, can you actually see the desk?
You can.
And how close are the desk and the chair together?
I would say approximately a foot.
Now, sir, if the shooter was 4 to 6 feet away, in your opinion, could he have been sitting in that chair?
No, sir.
Sir, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the shell casing. You said that also made it unlikely he was sitting in that chair. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain why?
Well, a semi-automatic firearm, when it's fired, it will eject the casing generally to the right in an upward angle, and it loads another shell casing or another shell into the firearm. This generally indicates that the shell casing would be found to the right and slightly to the rear. However, this shell casing was a considerable distance directly behind where that chair was sitting. There's also a piece of furniture along that wall that would have made it hard for that shell casing, if someone had been sitting in that chair, to have, for that casing to have ended up directly behind where the chair would have been.
All right, and I'd like to show that casing if we could, Exhibit 1.
Go ahead.
Is that the casing itself?
Yes, sir.
And did you take a photograph showing where the casing was with respect to the desk and the chair?
Yes.
Can we display that, Exhibit 11A?
Go ahead.
No, sir, where is the casing?
You see the carpeting that's on the back side of the desk going towards the door. There's a door and it's got a small rug in front of it. And then the tent that you can see right at the edge of the larger piece of carpet, that's the number 1 marker.
Is that the right one that my colleague just circled?
Yes.
Sir, I'd like to move away from the physical evidence and talk about the next thing you mentioned, electronic records.
Okay.
Did you review GPS tracking records in this case?
I did.
And can you just tell the jury what those are?
Basically, they are different cell tower sites around Waco that Mr. Ehrman's cell phone hit to as he on the date in question and that surrounding dates while he was in Waco.
And Your Honor, may we put up Exhibit 59 that's been pre-admitted?
Go ahead.
Is this a log you reviewed?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that you're looking at cell phone towers.
Yes.
Is that what's described in the 4th column there?
Yes, that's the location of the actual tower itself.
So does that mean that the person was at that address?
No, sir.
What does it mean?
It means that the person was in a vicinity where their cell phone signal would have bounced off of this tower.
Now, what's the closest tower to the Moody's home?
The 1900 South Loop Drive tower is the closest one to where the Moody's lived.
And what's the closest one to Baylor University?
The 2605 South 12th is the one closest to the Baylor area.
So I'd like to go to September 9th. Ellie, can you put those entries up? Now, sir, what's the first entry on September 9th?
The 7:38 or 7:39 a.m.
And that cell tower, where is that?
That's out on Highway 6.
And the second entry, where's that?
That would have been over by the Moody's residence at 7:49 a.m.
The third entry?
At 8:16 a.m., and that would have been down in the Baylor area.
And that fourth entry, the 1900 South Loop?
At 5:20 p.m., that would have been at the area closest to the Moody home.
Now, again, were you here while Mr. Ehrman testified?
I was.
And where did he testify his first stop was when he got into town?
Was on the Moody area, the Moody home area.
Did he testify that he then went to Baylor?
He did.
And what did he say his last stop in Waco was?
It was back at the Moody house.
Is there anything in these GPS records that is inconsistent with what Mr. Ehrman told the jury?
No, sir.
The last thing I want to talk about is the interviews, as you mentioned. Now,
Okay.
sir, was there anybody on the scene for you to talk to?
Lila Green was at the scene when I arrived.
And just to be clear, do you know whether she was there as all this went down or whether she showed up afterwards?
As I understand it, she is who found the victim's body.
Now, sir, do you know if Mrs. Moody was on the scene that night?
No, she was out of town.
Did you speak with her?
I did.
I'd like to compare the demeanor of the two people you spoke to that night. Now, Miss Green, without telling us what she said, how did she react when you started asking her questions?
Miss Green was very distraught. She was upset and crying when I tried to speak with her, so I had to keep my interview with her very brief.
And Mrs. Moody, when you called her, was she crying?
No, she was not.
Did her voice waver or break as you talked to her on the phone?
No, sir.
When you told her her husband had died, did you get any reaction whatsoever out of the defendant, Ellen Moody?
No, sir.
Thank you for your time, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. I want to pick up right where you left off, Sergeant. You told us you didn't get a reaction out of Ellen Moody, but Lila Green was crying. One of those two women had just seen a dead body, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was Lila Green,
Yes, sir.
not Ellen Moody?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about GPS tracking. Now, you told us on direct examination that you looked at pings off of Michael Ehrman's phone. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that these pings are connected to cell phone towers. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to put up on the screen Exhibit 59, a portion of it? It's
Go
been
ahead.
pre-admitted.
Yes, go ahead.
Now, this is the last page of the document you were talking about in direct examination, right?
Yes, sir.
There are 4 pages total to this document.
Yes, sir.
Now, you can confirm that there are 42 entries total in this document, right?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Vaughn, I'm looking for a number. How many of these pings tell us the exact location of Michael Ehrman?
None of them tell us the exact location.
How many of them tell us the street Michael Ehrman was on?
None of them.
What they do tell us is the general location of where Michael Ehrman was, right?
Correct.
Actually, they don't even tell us that, do they, Sergeant?
They give you a basic geographical area that he would have been in for this ping to hit that tower.
Actually, they tell you where his phone would have been, right?
That's correct.
So if Michael Ehrman, private investigator, left his phone in the car to follow someone on foot, well, this GPS data wouldn't track his movement, would it?
It would track the phone, yes, sir. As you
So
said.
not his movement.
If he doesn't have the phone, yes, sir. That's true.
So let's talk about September 9th specifically. You told us that entry number 39, do you see that, officer?
Yes, sir.
That one shows us there was a ping near the Moody residence, right?
That is correct.
So that tells us that Michael Ehrman's phone was on the Moody property?
No, sir. It was in an area where it would have hit to that tower.
So it was near the Moody property, right?
Yes, sir, basically.
In the general location of the Moody property.
That's true.
Now, Sergeant Vaughn, you told us on direct you've been with the police department a long time, right?
I have.
Now, in your line of work, have you ever heard the expression casing a joint?
Casing a joint?
That's right.
I have heard that, yes.
Now, that's when a criminal goes to the scene of a crime ahead of time, right?
Yes, sir.
That's when they try to get a lay of the land, isn't that true?
That's true.
Try and figure out who's home, right?
Yes.
Who's not home.
Yes, sir.
So what this tells us is that Michael Ehrman was around the Moody property on the morning of September 9th, right?
As you said, it's possible that he was in that area. His phone was in that area.
And you know he committed a crime on the Moody property that night.
His phone was in that area going by these.
That's not what I asked you. You know he committed a crime on the Moody property that night, right,
He
sir?
said that he did.
All right, let's talk about forensic evidence. Now, you've been a forensic investigator for a number of years, sir.
Yes, sir.
And you can confirm for the members of the jury that there are a lot of things that forensic evidence can tell us,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But forensic evidence also has limitations.
It does.
There were a lot of things that forensic evidence can't tell us, right?
Yes.
Now, one of the things you found at the scene of the crime, Your Honor, I'm putting up Exhibit 3 with the
Yes.
court's permission.
Yes, go ahead and publish paragraph, Exhibit 3.
This was a gun you found in the Moody office, right?
Yes, sir.
It was near the feet of the victim.
Yes, sir. It was to his right side on the floor.
Now, you can confirm that this gun hadn't been recently fired.
Yes, sir. It was, the cylinder was full of unfired bullets, yes.
And the bullets in this gun, they didn't match the bullet found in James Moody, did they?
That's correct. It did not. They
This
did
was not, oh, sorry. Were you finished with the answer?
Yes.
sir? This was not the murder weapon, right?
You're correct. This was not the weapon used to kill him.
That much forensic evidence can tell us, right?
Yes, sir.
But what forensic evidence can't tell us is why the gun was on the floor, right?
In this case, yes, sir.
Forensic evidence can't tell us if Professor Moody had been holding the gun and then dropped it, right?
Yes.
Can't tell us if it was on the ground and he was reaching for it.
Yes.
Can't tell us if that's where he kept a loaded firearm.
Yes.
All right. I want to talk about another piece of forensic evidence. Your Honor, with the court's permission to publish 2A. It's already been admitted.
Go ahead.
Now, you saw this at the scene of the crime, right?
Yes, sir.
This is a burned note found in a trash can.
Yes.
Actually, I've got a physical copy of it here. This is that note, right?
That is the actual note, yes, sir.
Now, you can confirm that this note's been burned. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
But forensic evidence, forensic analysis can't reverse a burning process, can it?
No, sir.
It can't tell us why James Moody had a burned note in his trash can, can it?
No, sir.
Can't tell you who wrote the note.
No, sir.
When?
No, sir.
Why?
No.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, Exhibit 2B.
Go ahead.
Now, you talked a little bit about where the chair was in this office on direct examination. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And you told the members of the jury that the chair was about a foot away from the desk.
Approximately, yes.
And that meant that if the shooter had been sitting in that chair, then it couldn't have been the shooter could not have been sitting in the chair, right?
In my opinion, it would have been very difficult for a gun to have been fired from that short of a distance.
Because the blast evidence suggested the shooter was 4 to 6 feet away, right?
Yes.
So the chair's a foot away from the desk. About how long is that desk?
Long or deep? Between the...
Width.
It's approximately 2.5 feet deep.
Okay. So that's 3.5 feet total now, right? From the chair to the desk. From the desk to the end of the desk, right?
Right.
And Dr. Moody's chair, it's pushed back a little bit in this picture, isn't it?
It is.
About a foot, maybe?
Approximately.
Okay, that's 4.5 feet, right?
Yes, but you're not taking into consideration that when you're pointing a gun, that's moving the gun about 2 to 3 feet closer to the individual.
Well, Sergeant Vaughn, you're not taking into account the fact that the chair had been moved, right?
Which chair?
The chair, the guest chair, not the chair Professor Moody was sitting in.
It was laying on its side, yes.
You know that Michael Ehrman told you that he had moved that chair.
He didn't tell me, no.
Well, you told the FBI, right?
He testified to it in this court that he had turned the chair over. Yes,
He'd
sir.
moved the chair, right?
Yes.
So it could have been even further away from the desk.
It could have been, yes.
You
sir.
don't know.
No, sir.
Forensic evidence can't tell you that.
No, sir.
All right. Your Honor, with the court's permission, Exhibit 4B.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to talk a little bit about this manila envelope. Now, you were here for the direct examination of Michael Ehrman, like you told us, right?
Yes, sir.
And you saw the video of him slipping a manila envelope under Professor Moody's door.
Yes.
You were here when he testified that it was my client, Ellen Moody, who'd given him that envelope, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you ran a fingerprint analysis on this envelope, isn't that true?
I did, yes.
You had a sufficient sample to run that test,
Yes.
and you got a result, right?
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about how fingerprints work. Now, a fingerprint can be transferred to a manila envelope, right?
It can be, yes, sir.
And we know that because you found one.
Yes.
So when someone holds a manila envelope, their fingerprint might end up on it. Isn't that true?
Might, but not necessarily will.
Okay, but it might, right?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
Go ahead.
Sir, if you could take this for a second. Thank you. Now, I've just handed you a manila envelope. Now, your fingerprints might be on that envelope. Isn't that true?
They might be, yes.
So my fingerprints might be on it?
Yes,
Your fingerprints might be on it?
you're correct.
And you saw me hand that to Michael Ehrman when he was in here, right?
Yes,
His fingerprints might be on it.
they may be.
Permission to approach and retrieve?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now, when you ran your fingerprint analysis on this manila envelope, you found one fingerprint. Isn't that true?
I did, yes.
Ellen Moody's?
No, sir.
Michael Ehrman's,
I
right?
did. It was Michael Ehrman's.
Now, you know that that night Michael Ehrman was stopped by a Calcasieu Parish Police Department, right?
Yes, sir.
That's in Louisiana.
It is.
And you know they took an inventory form of things that he had on him,
Yes.
things he had in his car. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And you've seen that document?
Yes, sir.
Would you recognize it if I put it on the screen in front of you?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, pre-admitted Exhibit 36.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. You can confirm for the members of the jury that these were items found in Michael Ehrman's car, right?
According to the sheriff's department, yes, these are the items that they found in his car.
Now I want to draw your attention to the first thing on this list. It's listed as Exhibit 1, right?
Yes, sir.
The description is a Colt 1911 .45 caliber.
Yes,
That's a gun, right?
it is.
The .45 caliber, that refers to the size of the bullet.
Correct.
You can confirm for the members of the jury that the bullet found in James Moody's body came from Michael Ehrman's gun.
According to the autopsy, yes.
Thank you, Sergeant Vaughn. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Sergeant Vaughn, you were just asked about casing a joint. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to put those GPS records back up if we could, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Now, I'm looking at the last page there. Mr. Hari asked you, is it consistent with casing a joint that he would show up first at the Moody home? You remember him asking you that?
Yes, sir.
You've done a lot of investigations, right?
I have.
How many homicide investigations?
Over 200.
Have you ever seen a criminal case a joint at 7:49 a.m.?
I have not been involved in a case where that was a fact of the case. No.
You've never seen a criminal case a joint during morning rush hour?
No, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, you may step down. Thank you. Government call their next witness.
Your Honor, the government has no further witnesses. We rest.
Okay.
Your Honor, we understand that in this jurisdiction, a motion of this kind has never been sustained, but we move under Rule 29 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure for a judgment of acquittal.
You are correct. That is the tradition in this district. That motion will be denied. Why don't we go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and then we'll start the defense. And if you'll stand, I'll let the jury leave first. And ask the defense to call their first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we call Ranger James Huggins to the stand.
Sir, if you raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, please have a seat. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Sir, can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury, spelling your last name?
My name is Jim Huggins, Huggins.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I currently teach forensic science at Baylor University.
Can you describe briefly what exactly forensic science is?
Well, forensic science is the combination of science as it applies to the law.
What do you look at in coming to conclusions in forensic science?
We look at the we look at the science behind everything that's involved in a particular crime scene or a particular lab situation. We look at how things happen, what the probabilities are.
And before we talk about your involvement in today's case, I want the jury to get a sense of your credentials. Where were you educated?
I received my master's degree from Oklahoma State University in Forensic Science Administration and my bachelor's degree in biology from the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor.
And can you give us a brief description of your professional experience?
I spent a little over 29 years with the Department of Public Safety as a highway patrol trooper, as a sergeant in Criminal Investigations Division, and the last 15 years of my career, which ended in 2011, I was a sergeant with the Texas Rangers, assigned to Company F out of Waco and also Company A out of Houston.
So how long have you been doing forensic investigations, sir?
Virtually all my career in some form or fashion.
Have you ever testified in court before as an expert in forensic science?
Yes, I have.
At this time, Your Honor, we tender Ranger Huggins as an expert in forensic science.
Okay, he'll be so certified. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Now I want to talk about your involvement in today's case. How did you first become involved?
I first became involved when I was asked to look at the forensic evidence involved in the case to try to determine whether or not the events actually happened in the way that they did.
Who retained you, sir?
I was retained by the defense.
Now, were you here today for the testimony of Sergeant Vaughn?
I was.
Now, in coming to your conclusions in today's case, did you consider Sergeant Vaughn's version of what occurred on September 9th, 2014?
I did.
And can you give us a brief description of what that version was?
My understanding of his version is that the defendant, Ehrman, walked through the back door, kicked the back door in, and shot Mr. Moody from a distance of about 4 to 6 feet. And it would have been at such an angle that there could have been other possibilities involved as to where he was actually standing, because there's no way to actually tell.
Well, let's talk about that, the shooter's position. What kind of evidence do you consider in determining where a shooter was standing or sitting at the time the gun is fired?
I look at things like through the autopsy, the actual path of the bullet once it enters the body. I also look at the final resting place of the victim and anything else that is there in that general vicinity to try to tell the complete story about what had happened.
Well, let's talk about the complete story in this case. You told the members of the jury that the police said that the shooter was standing at the time of the shot.
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Is that consistent with the evidence?
There are other probabilities that I think are a lot higher.
What's another probability?
That he was sitting directly across the desk from Dr. Moody when the shot actually occurred.
Now, I want to talk about how you came to that conclusion. Did you feel you had sufficient information to reach a conclusion regarding the shooter's position?
I think so.
Did you use principles and methods you've used in the field?
Yes, sir.
Are those the same principles you were taught?
Yes, sir.
Are those the same principles you now teach?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about that. Would a demonstrative aid help you explain the shooter's position?
Sure.
Your Honor, permission to set up a chair in the courtroom?
Yes.
Excuse me, in the well?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. May I hand the witness this dowel?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Now, Ranger Huggins, I've just handed you a dowel. Can you please indicate the trajectory of the bullet if the victim had been sitting upright?
The basic trajectory of the bullet, according to the autopsy, the path within the body would have been approximately at this angle.
All right, now, if James Moody, the victim, was facing the chair in front of him, and the path of the bullet was at that downward angle you just described, where would the shooter be standing?
This is being Dr. Moody's chair, and
Yes.
that being the chair at the other side of the desk.
That's right, sir.
Then with the angle that it was, he would have to be in this general vicinity.
And if the victim was sitting upright,
If the victim was sitting upright, he would have to be standing.
is that the only explanation for the path of the bullet?
No.
All right, let's say I'm the shooter, and I'd been sitting in this chair. Your Honor, permission to sit in the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Is this consistent with the path of the bullet?
It can be, yes, sir.
How so?
If the defendant was leaning across the desk and preparing to get up in that general area, then that would make the path from that angle approximately the same.
Thank you. Was there any evidence that suggested one of these possibilities, the shooter standing or the shooter sitting, was more likely?
Indicated to me that the shooter was more likely sitting.
Why was that?
Well, there was a palm print found on the left side of the chair, which is indicative when people get up from a chair. They normally put their hands on it. I do it all the time.
Now you said,
That would indicate that he was likely sitting in the chair at the time of the shooting.
now you also said if the victim was leaning forward,
Correct.
that was consistent with the shooter sitting across from him. Was there anything found on the ground near the victim?
There was a revolver pistol found to the right side of the victim, just on the outside or the inside part of the desk, to his right foot.
If the victim had reached to pick up that revolver at the time of the shooting, would that have been consistent with the shooter being seated?
It could be, yes, sir.
I want to put all of this together, sir. You said that any one of these was a possibility, right? The shooter standing and the shooter sitting?
Yes, sir.
Which is the most likely possibility?
The most probable, in my opinion, is the fact that he would have been sitting in the chair and leaned forward in some form or fashion, and that's where the shooting occurred, therefore giving the same path of the bullet inside the body.
Thank you, sir. Pass the witness, Your Honor. May I remove the chair and retrieve the dowel?
Yes, please.
Actually, Your Honor,
Oh.
if you, would you mind keeping that in there?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll remove it after the witness is finished. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, may I come retrieve that from you?
Sure. I
Thank
knew
you.
would, so I was getting ready.
Appreciate it. Now, before we get to this, I just want to talk about what exactly you did in this case. You analyzed physical evidence, right?
Correct.
But you never handled the physical evidence itself.
No, I did not.
You knew that Sergeant Vaughn had every piece of physical evidence on file, right?
Correct.
And you know Sergeant Vaughn, actually, right?
I do.
And Sergeant Vaughn, you've talked to him a bunch
I have.
in cases exactly like this one.
Many.
You know that you can go to Sergeant Vaughn and access every piece of physical evidence in any case you're working on.
True.
Did you ask him to take a look at the physical evidence in this case?
No.
So you only reviewed photographs of the evidence, right?
Correct.
Photographs of the evidence that Sergeant Vaughn took.
Correct.
Photographs of the evidence that Sergeant Vaughn collected, right?
Correct.
Photographs of the evidence that Sergeant Vaughn actually handled.
True.
Now, the other thing I want to ask you about, you were testifying about what was going on in the room that night, September 9th, in the home office, right?
Correct.
Obviously, you weren't there, true?
No.
So you weren't there to see it firsthand what was going on.
No.
You didn't see Mike Ehrman sit down in the chair, right?
No.
You didn't see whether he was standing behind the chair either.
No.
So how you tried to figure that out, whether he was standing or sitting, was the bullet trajectory, like you just talked about.
True.
So let's get to that then. And you said there were essentially two possibilities you talked about on direct examination, right?
Roughly, yes, sir.
So if we're both sitting, I'm Mike Ehrman, you're Dr. Moody.
So you'd like to sit in the chair?
Yes, may I sit in the chair as well?
Yes, go ahead.
So if I'm Mike Ehrman and you're Dr. Moody, and I shoot like this, and you're sitting straight up, inconsistent with the evidence, right?
Correct.
Now, if I'm standing, and it comes down, would you mind holding on to that?
Sure.
And just holding it at the angle that it was? Right. So if I'm standing, that's consistent with what you found, right?
You're kind of up here, but yeah, it's in the neighborhood.
So it's consistent with Mr. Ehrman standing and the bullet being shot down into Dr. Moody's chest, right?
Assuming that he's sitting straight up, yes.
Now, if I'm sitting, may I?
Yes.
If I'm sitting, the only way the angle makes sense is if you're leaning forward, right?
Correct.
The only way that angle could have happened is if Dr. Moody leaned forward over his desk. That's what you said.
Correct.
Now, I want to talk about whether or not there's any evidence that he was leaning forward. And in your expert report, you wrote, and I'm going to quote here, I found evidence Dr. Moody leaned over his desk to draw a pistol, right?
Correct.
And do you remember what evidence you said you found?
I'd have to refer to the report, but I also used the fact that he was leaning over the desk when he was fighting.
Let me bring that report to you.
Now, I have one.
Okay.
Just let me grab it out. Okay.
So I'd like to direct you to page 4 of your report. And you see in lines 2 to 3 there, that's you talking about the evidence you say you found that he leaned over his desk to draw a pistol, right?
In lines 3 and 4?
2 and 3, I'm sorry.
Okay. On page 4?
Yeah, that first full paragraph.
Okay. In line 4, yes, I say it's in my opinion that the forensic evidence more closely supports this description of the shooting than Mr. Ehrman's later statements.
So just to get into the lines 2 and 3 here, you say Mr. Ehrman stated that while both Mr. Ehrman and Dr. Moody were seated, Dr. Moody leaned over his desk to draw a pistol on Mr. Ehrman, right?
Page 4,
Yes, sir.
top paragraph.
I'm talking about the
Oh, you're
first
talking
full.
about, okay, the first full
I'm
paragraph.
sorry,
okay.
let's get on the same page.
All right.
I'm talking about the first full paragraph,
Yes.
lines 3 and 4.
Correct. He says Dr. Moody leaned over his desk to draw a pistol.
And that is the only evidence that you had that he did lean over, right?
Other than the photographs depicting him laying on the front of the desk, which tends to support that.
Now, of course, those photographs were taken after he passed away, right?
That's correct.
And even if somebody was shot sitting straight up, they could slump forward down onto the desk, right?
It's possible. Yes, sir.
So the only evidence other than those photos was Mr. Ehrman's statement, right?
Correct.
And this was his first statement to police, right?
Yes.
His first statement to police, that's it. That and the photos that you just talked about, right?
Correct.
All right, I'm going to bring you Mr. Ehrman's first statement to police, and I'm going to ask you to point out where in there he says that Dr. Moody was leaned over the desk, all right? May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Here you go, sir. I've got one for you right here.
I've also
You got it?
one.
All
I
right.
believe it's the same one. Yes, sir.
It's the one from September 10th.
Yes.
And I'd like to turn you to page 8. You see, that's where Mr. Ehrman is telling,
I'm on page 7. All right.
that's where Mr. Ehrman is telling the officers about what happened, right?
Which line?
The entire first paragraph there,
Okay.
that whole answer paragraph.
All right.
Anywhere in there, does Mr. Ehrman say that Dr. Moody was leaned over the desk?
Line 15 on page 8.
Could you read that to the jury?
Before I knew it, the son of a bitch leans over his desk and draws a pistol on me.
I'm sorry, sir.
Are we on the right one?
What report are you looking at?
I'm looking
September
at
10th report,
September
2014.
10th, 2014,
Page 8. I have line 15. It's not any reason to keep me on this. I won't be any trouble.
It's not the one I have. Show me yours.
Sure.
Go ahead and approach.
So can we agree that's the first interview of Michael Ehrman?
It's the one you have.
And can we agree that in that account by Mr. Ehrman, which you relied on, he does not say that Dr. Moody was leaning over the desk?
This particular copy does not say that.
And so that's the copy that's been certified with the court, right?
Yes.
You had a chance to supply the copies that you were certified by the court, right?
Yes.
And that's the one you submitted as certified by the court.
Yes, sir.
So whatever a prior version says, that's the one that's been submitted
This
and
is the
certified.
one that's right.
Right?
This one is certified.
So to be clear, nowhere in there, nowhere in that report does Mr. Ehrman say that Dr. Moody was leaned over the desk, right?
No, that did not say that.
You said in your report, Mr. Ehrman said Dr. Moody leaned over the desk. That was incorrect,
According to that, it was.
according to the certified copy of the interview.
Yes.
Now, the other way you say you know that he could have been leaning down is that he was reaching for something, right?
Yes.
Reaching for the gun.
Very possibly.
To be clear, there were no drawers down beneath on the desk, right?
Beneath, no, there was one at the front part of the desk.
So there was one drawer in the middle of the desk, right?
Correct.
And if you lean forward into a drawer in the middle of the desk, that's going to make it tougher to pull out, right?
Well, when you scoot back a little bit to pull the desk out, the drawer out, it would make much more sense that you would have to lean forward as you pulled it out.
So if you're sitting behind the desk, right, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you lean back to pull a drawer out?
I don't.
Well, certainly you weren't there to see what Dr. Moody did,
No,
right?
I wasn't.
And it's true that if you do lean your chest into the desk, your chest is getting closer to the drawer, right?
True, when you lean it out, and
So-
when you pull it out.
So if you lean in, it's getting closer to the drawer that you're trying to pull out, right?
Scooting back and pulling the drawer out.
Now, whatever you say about the bullet trajectory, you don't dispute the autopsy findings that the shooter was 4 to 6 feet away, right?
I find nothing to dispute that, no.
So 4 to 6 feet away, you agree that's how far the shooter was.
It's reasonable.
And you didn't measure the distance between the desk and the chair, right?
Which desk? I mean, which chair?
The chair that was turned over behind.
There's no way of knowing the exact position of that chair.
I'm not asking you whether you think there's any way to know. I'm asking you whether you measured the distance.
No, I did not.
You know Sergeant Vaughn looked into the distance between those two things, right?
He did.
You couldn't do that because you weren't on the scene, right?
Correct.
And you can agree that by Sergeant Vaughn's measurements, the chair was closer to the desk than 4 to 6 feet, right?
His measurements would have been the final resting place of the chair. We don't know where it was to start with.
His measurements show that that chair ended up closer to the desk than 4 to 6 feet, right?
Ended up closer than 4 to 6 feet.
You don't dispute the findings about the shell casing either, right?
In what way?
Well, the shell casing was over by the door, true?
True.
And you don't dispute that is the resting place that it came to after it was shot, right?
Correct.
And sir, you do agree with Sergeant Vaughn that usually the shell casing kicks out of the right side of the gun, right?
Correct.
It doesn't go flying backwards behind the shooter, right?
It can go anywhere from straight over the shoulder off to right at about a 45-degree angle.
But right at a 45-degree angle, not backwards, right?
Backwards is a very distinct possibility based on the type of gun. It would depend on that particular weapon.
But this
That is possible.
This was a 45 caliber weapon, right?
Correct.
And you know that those shell casings usually discharge immediately to the right-hand side of the gun.
Not necessarily, sir.
I
Every
didn't-
gun is a little bit different.
But usually they discharge right to the right side of the gun,
Straight back or to the right side.
straight back into the shooter or to the right side.
Correct.
And so that shell casing was found over by the door, right?
Correct.
Not to the right of the chair.
Depends on where the chair initially was when the shot would have
Not
been
to the
fired.
right of where the chair was found.
Not where it was found, absolutely not.
You said there was a palm print on the chair as well, right?
There was a palm print on the left side of the chair.
We can agree there's more than one way for a palm print to end up on a chair.
True.
Somebody doesn't have to be sitting in the chair to leave a palm print, right?
Depends on what they're doing, no.
The person could, if I may approach the chair?
Yes.
The person could leave a palm print if they were turning over the chair like so, right?
It's possible.
Or turning over the chair like that.
It's possible.
And you know Mr. Ehrman said that he tossed the place to make it look like a breaking and entering, right?
True.
Now, you say that the palm print ended up on the chair because somebody was grasping it as they sat?
No. A palm print can be left on a chair as you're getting up from it.
So your testimony is that the palm print was on the chair because he was getting up.
That's certainly a possibility.
But there was only one palm print, agreed?
Correct.
And you don't know for sure whether Mr. Ehrman had anything in his hands as he was sitting in the chair, even under your account, right?
No.
And so the last thing I want to ask you about is how you ended up here in court today. Now, it's true that you didn't volunteer to come to court today, right?
No.
You're a professional expert, right?
I serve as an expert for both the prosecution and the defense.
But today, you're testifying for the defense, right?
I am.
You were retained by the defense,
I am.
meaning you're being paid by the defense. Isn't that true?
I am.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, go ahead.
Ranger Huggins, there was a little bit of confusion about whether or not James Moody was leaning over the table. Now, you told us that in that transcript, even the version Mr. Wallace had, that Michael Ehrman said James Moody reached for a gun. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Where was the gun?
I believe it was the final resting place
Yes, sir.
was to his right side, to the right of his foot next to the wastebasket.
Now, if James Moody had leaned down to pick up a fallen gun, is that consistent with what you told us?
It certainly could be.
Thank you. Pass the witness, Your Honor. Can I move the chair?
Yes, please do. Anything further from the witness?
We have nothing further for the witness.
Good.
Thank you.
Sir, you may step down. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, if you want to call your next witness.
Certainly, Your Honor. At this time, we call Ellen Moody to the stand.
Ma'am, if you raise your right hand and be sworn in, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, please take a stand. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Ma'am, can you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name?
My name is Ellen White Moody, Moody.
What do you do for a living, ma'am?
I'm the equestrian coach at Baylor University.
What exactly is an equestrian coach?
It involves different competitions where the athletes are on horseback and they compete in agility trials and different obstacle type courses with horses.
Do you work closely with your students?
I do. They're a great group of kids, yeah.
Are you married?
I was.
Do you have any children?
I have one daughter. Her name is Shelby.
Ma'am, I want to turn your attention to today's case. Were you here today during today's trial?
I've unfortunately heard all of it, yes.
Did you hear Michael Ehrman's testimony?
I did.
Do you know Michael Ehrman?
Unfortunately, yes, I do.
How do you know?
I got his name from a friend of mine because I wanted to hire a private investigator. And so I got his contact information and I got in touch with him to do some work.
What kind of work?
I had a horrible suspicion that my husband was having an affair with one of his students. And, you get that sick feeling and you don't know if you're overreacting. And since he did investigation work, I figured he could get to the bottom of it for me and let me know if I was imagining things or if it was really happening.
Did he agree to take the case?
He did.
Did he ask for anything first?
Of course. He asked me to pay $2,500 up front as a deposit retainer kind of thing for him to start working on the case for me.
And how did you pay that, if you did?
Yeah, he asked me to send it to him by PayPal, and so I sent it electronically through a PayPal account.
Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 14. It's been pre-admitted.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, if you could look at your screen, what are we looking at here?
I just lost part of it for the date, but this is, August 19th, the middle of August. This was the initial $2,500 payment, and it says here retainer fee for services to Michael Ehrman.
And what email address did you use to make this payment?
I used my work email, ellenmoody@baylor.edu.
Did you make any other payments to Mr. Ehrman other than this one?
I made one final payment later on after he had completed the work for me.
How much was that for?
That was for $10,000.
And in your understanding, what were you paying Mr. Ehrman for, that $10,000?
That was supposed to be for his time and expenses for the investigation and the photographs that he had collected.
And can you remind the members of the jury, did Mr. Ehrman tell you an hourly rate for his work?
He told me it was going to be around $100 an hour plus expenses and fees and things that he had to incur.
Did he tell you how long he followed your husband?
It was for almost a couple of weeks, I think, yeah.
Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 15?
Go ahead.
Ma'am, what have I just put up on that screen?
This is the other PayPal receipt where I sent the final $10,000 for his services, and it was on September the 5th.
What email address did you use to make this payment?
I used my ellenmoody@baylor.edu.
Were you paying for anything other than investigative services?
No, that's all I wanted done.
All right, let's talk about September 9th of 2015. Where were you that morning?
I was having to go out of town with my team. We had a competition on the East Coast, and so I was flying out of Waco with the team to head to our competition.
And did you leave?
I did. It was a horrible morning. I overslept. Alarm didn't go off. Ran out of the house like crazy.
Now, did you meet with Michael Ehrman that morning?
No, I hadn't seen Michael Ehrman for weeks.
Now, what happened when you reached Tennessee?
Got to Tennessee. We got settled in at the hotel. The competition was going to start the next day. And so, you don't take college kids on a trip and not feed them. So I took them to dinner. We got back to the hotel, and I was settling in, and I got a phone call.
Who called?
It was one of the police officers contacting me.
What did the officer say?
It's the phone call you never want to get. You don't want anything to be wrong with anybody in your family. And I'm standing there holding the phone, not really comprehending what I'm hearing. He told me that my husband was dead.
So what did you do?
I couldn't do anything. I tried to figure out how to get out of there, and I'm trying to fly back to Waco when there's limited flights to get back into Waco, and so I basically had to wait till the next morning. I took the first flight I could and got back here.
What'd you find when you got back, man?
Our house was a crime scene.
Did you talk to anyone?
I ended up talking to police officers, and of course I had to talk to my daughter.
Now, ma'am, I want to talk about what Michael Ehrman found during his investigation of your husband. Did he find any pictures that confirmed your suspicion?
He did. He gave me, I think, 4 or so photographs that confirmed my suspicion that he was having an affair.
And were you here in trial today when the government played a video of you seeing those pictures for the first time?
Yeah, I'll never forget that day.
How did you feel when you saw those pictures?
I felt so hurt and betrayed. We built our life here in Waco together. We have no other family except he and I and our daughter, and we've been married for almost 20 years. And it's one thing to think that it might be happening, but to see it in color in front of you in an 8x10 photograph, it just slaps you upside the head and kicks you in the gut, and it just felt horrible.
So what'd you do when you saw those pictures?
I grabbed his beer and drank it, which I can't even stand beer, and grabbed my purse and took off out of there.
Did you consider leaving your husband?
I did actually even made an appointment with a divorce lawyer.
Did you go see that lawyer?
I didn't.
Why not?
Again, when I got to Waco, he and I met. It was like a fairy tale. We got married within a few months almost of meeting, and we loved each other so much. We had a great life. Our daughter was born within the first year of us being married. Everything that I have is built around him and Shelby. That's my life. I couldn't just throw it away so quickly.
Did you want to work it out, ma'am?
I did. I was hoping that if I just kind of put things on hold, went and got the competition over with and came back, that I could tell him what I knew, and that maybe it could be okay. Maybe.
Ma'am, I noticed you're still wearing your ring.
Yeah.
Do you still love your husband?
I do. And, you know, another anniversary's going to come up. My birthday was yesterday. It's just not the same. It's not the same. None of this makes it different. It doesn't bring him back. He's gone, but he's still my husband.
Ma'am, I want to talk about some of the evidence the government put before us today. I want your side of what this evidence actually shows.
Okay.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to put up Exhibit 13, summary of phone calls we've already seen.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I'm zooming in here.
Okay.
That 254 number, whose is that?
That's my cell phone number.
Who made these phone calls, ma'am?
I did.
That 504 number that you're calling, whose is that?
That's Mr. Ehrman.
Ma'am, I noticed that some of these phone calls are after August 30th of 2014.
Yes.
I've got to ask, if Michael Ehrman was done doing investigative work, why were you still calling him?
Well, as you saw on the video, I didn't take the pictures with me. I was so upset that day, I didn't take anything but my purse. And so, you know, I was thinking I'm going to go see a divorce attorney, and this is going to be important. And so I need copies of those pictures, and I don't have them. And so I contacted him initially to see if I could get him to email the photographs to me that he had showed me there at the bar that day.
Did you talk about anything else with Mr. Ehrman?
No, I just told him that I needed to get the photographs, and that, you know, how much did I owe him to finish all of this up, and that I was going to be talking to a divorce attorney about this.
What about the other two phone calls? Did you ever ask Mr. Ehrman to testify in a divorce proceeding?
I did, because then after I got to thinking about it, I was like, well, I've got these pictures, and how did I get them? And so I need somebody. I didn't see it happen. And so I asked him if he would, or told him that I was going to be needing him to probably testify in my divorce if, you know, that happened. And, you know, he was very agitated with the fact that I was asking him to appear in a courtroom.
Did he say why?
No, he just didn't really want to have anything to do with that. But I needed the information, and I needed somebody to be there as a witness.
Did Mr. Ehrman ever tell you he didn't want to testify because he didn't have a license as a private investigator?
Something about, like, his credentials weren't good, and he didn't want to appear in a courtroom, something along those lines. But this was, you know, after he had already been working for me.
Ma'am, I noticed that these phone calls, they add up to about 59 minutes. Was Mr. Ehrman being cooperative during these phone calls?
Well, initially when I hired him, he was. But then when I called him after that, he seemed kind of agitated when I wanted his help with a potential divorce case.
So was he being cooperative?
Not really then. He was irritated with me and didn't really want to help.
Now, I want to also ask you about some alarms. Your Honor, with the court's permission, Exhibit 34.
Okay, go ahead.
Ma'am, you can confirm that that top line where it says property, that's your address, right?
That is.
Okay, I've taken us to the last page, Tuesday, September 9th. It says no activity. Ma'am, why didn't you arm the alarm system that day?
Like I said, I got up late. I was in such a hurry. I was trying to grab my stuff to get to the airport on time, and I didn't even think.
Ma'am, before you left to the airport, what did you do?
I told my husband that I loved him and I'd see him soon.
So he was home when you left?
He was.
Thank you. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Mrs. Moody, I want to talk about a bunch of things that I think you and I can agree on.
Okay.
We can agree that before your husband died, you found out that he was cheating on you.
I did.
And you didn't find out from him, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't find out from a friend who let you in on the secret?
No.
You found out, like you said, from the private investigator, Mr. Ehrman.
Right.
A man that just a couple days prior had been a stranger to you, right?
Yes.
So this man you didn't know well, he called you to a bar, yes?
Yes.
And you showed up and he slid an envelope across the table to you, right?
He did.
And you opened that envelope up,
Yes.
and what was staring you in the face were color, glossy photographs of your husband being intimate with another woman.
Yes, they were.
And I can't even imagine how incredibly difficult that must have been. It was, wasn't it?
It was horrible. And I had to see it again today, and it's even worse.
You were very upset when you saw it.
Yeah.
You've described yourself as hurt, right?
Very hurt.
As heartbroken.
Yes.
As mad, right?
Not really mad. That's not the right word.
Ma'am, is it your testimony you weren't angry with your husband?
Angry, but in a betrayed kind of way.
Well, let's talk about what you said to your friends about whether you were feeling angry or not. Your Honor, may we display Exhibit 49? It's pre-admitted.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, the day you found out about your husband's affair, you started communicating with a friend of yours, right?
My best friend, Joanne, yes.
And you sent her texts.
Yes.
Those are some of the texts you sent her.
Yeah, that was that August 30th day, yes.
And the blue boxes are you, right?
Yeah, Joanne's responding to me.
And I'm going to blow up that second box there. And the second line is, I'm seriously going to kill James. I can't believe him.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah, that's my text message.
You said that after you found out about the affair, right? Mm-hmm. Before
Yes.
your husband died.
Well, yes, but I don't know at that time he's actually going to die.
Ma'am, I'm just asking you whether you said that before your husband died.
Yes, this was on August 30th.
Now, I'd like to go to a text you sent the next day. Can we show Exhibit 50, which has been pre-admitted?
Yes, go ahead.
Now, this is another text you sent to Joanne, right?
Yes.
And let's blow this one up. And pardon my French here, but that second line, that dirty, cheating son of a bitch will pay for what he's done. Did you say that?
I did.
You said that after you found out your husband was cheating, right?
I did.
Before he ended up dead.
Well, yes.
The third thing I think we can agree on, well, you had a life insurance policy out on your husband, right?
We both had policies on each other. We have a daughter, so that's what you do.
So you stood to make money if your husband ended up dead, true?
That's pretty disgusting way to say it, but I would get the proceeds from the life insurance policy if he died, yes.
How much?
We each had $1 million policy.
So you stood to make $1 million if your husband passed, is that right?
It's not making $1 million if you lose your spouse.
So you stood to get $1 million if your husband
I would get
passed?
the insurance proceeds, yes.
And you're talking about it like it's repugnant. You filed for the insurance claim, right?
Let's see, I've been paying life insurance premiums for all these years. Somebody comes and murders my husband, and I'm not going to file a claim to get the insurance proceeds?
So you did claim the insurance, right?
Yes, after the FBI agent brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, I probably should turn in a claim.
So after he died, you claimed the $1 million life insurance policy. That's what you just said.
I absolutely did.
Now, I want to talk about some of the evidence that Mr. Hari just talked to you about. You don't dispute you had calls with Mr. Ehrman after he finished his private investigator work.
I don't dispute that at all. I just explained all of that, yes.
3 calls, right?
Yes.
And you spoke for almost an hour with him. You don't dispute that.
No, I don't.
You don't dispute that after the last of those calls, you paid him money, right?
Correct. The final payment he wanted, yes.
I'm not asking for your story on what it was. I'm asking for whether you paid him, and you did.
I said yes, I paid him his final payment, yes.
$10,000, right?
That's what he said I owed, so that's what I paid him.
You don't dispute that on September 9th, you left town, right?
Right, I had to go to a competition.
You left town, and you left the alarm system at your home undone, right?
That's correct.
Disarmed.
That's correct.
You are meticulous about setting that alarm system, right?
Yes,
Every single day, you set it before you leave, right?
I do.
Ma'am, would you recognize a log of your alarm system records?
Yeah, I think I just looked at it.
May we display that as 34?
Yes, go ahead.
May I approach the witness with you?
Yes.
Ma'am, can you take a look at that for me?
Okay.
How many weekdays where you don't set the alarm?
I set the alarm on weekdays. we always do.
I asked how many where you didn't set it?
Where I didn't set it?
That's correct.
There's only one day on this particular report. That's August and the beginning of September.
And that's the day that your husband was murdered, right?
Yes. Don't you think I don't tear myself up over that every day?
Ma'am, there was one day where it wasn't set.
Exactly, in the day he was killed, yes.
Now, I want to talk timeline before I let you go.
Okay.
It was August 30th when you found out your husband had been unfaithful, right?
That's when it was confirmed with the pictures.
That day, you send that text to Joanne Miller saying, I'm seriously going to kill him, right?
I did.
The next day, you send a text calling him a son of a bitch, right? You say he's going to pay for what he's done.
Right.
The next day, you call Mike Ehrman, right?
The next day, maybe it was, I called him on the 2nd.
September 2nd, right?
Yeah.
The next day, you call him again.
The next day or a couple of days later, something like that, yeah.
September 3rd, you called him again,
It
right?
was the 2nd and 3rd. I couldn't remember if it was the 3rd or the 4th, but yeah.
Right. So you called him again the next day. 2 days later, you call him a final time, right?
Right.
That same day, you wire him $10,000, yes?
Yes, I did.
4 days later, you leave town, right?
Yes.
4 days later, you leave the back door to the office unlocked, right?
I didn't leave that unlocked. It's always unlocked.
But you left home with the door unlocked, yes?
Yes.
4 days later, you left home with the alarm system undone.
I did.
And that very night, your husband ended up dead. Is that a yes?
Yeah, it is a yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any additional questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, I want to ask you about these text messages. Now, Mr. Wallace zoomed them in, so we had them out of context. But can you tell us who Joanne Miller is?
She's my best friend. She's the ladies tennis coach here at Baylor, and she's the person I always go to.
When you told her you were seriously going to kill your husband, what did you mean?
It's just language that people use when they're upset. I mean, you say, oh, I could kill him, but you don't really mean you're going to kill somebody. I was upset. I was hurt. I had just found out everything that was happening. I didn't know what to do. It was just an expression that I was really upset at the time.
Have you ever used that to talk about anyone other than your husband?
Probably so.
Now, I want to talk about the alarms that Mr. Wallace brought up again on cross-examination. Now, you told, Mr. Wallace asked you whether you were meticulous about setting the alarm. Why were you the one who set the alarm, ma'am?
Because my husband always left for work earlier than I did. He left around 6 o'clock in the morning, where I didn't leave until 8 or 9 because my schedule lasted later into the day with practices and things. And so since I was the person to leave, I was the person that set the alarm.
And you told us on September 9th you had a flight out. Was your
did.
husband home when you left?
He was, because I was leaving that day, and so he was still there with me at the house before I took off.
Thank you, ma'am. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything additional?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, ma'am, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next witness?
No further witnesses, Your Honor. At this time, the defense rests and requests a 10-minute recess before closing argument.
Well, let's wait and see if the government has any rebuttal evidence.
The government does not have any rebuttal evidence, Your Honor.
Okay, very well. We'll go ahead and take a 10-minute recess, and then we'll come back for closing arguments. First, stand for the jury as they relieve. Okay, please be seated. We're now ready for closing arguments, and of course, the local rule says you need to use the podium, but I will let you all walk them outside of the podium at your choice. Okay, is the government ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
And, Your Honor, before I begin, may we display exhibits and the demonstrative evidence we put up on the screen during the course of closing?
Yes, you may use this without asking.
Thank you.
The ones that have been admitted, yes.
May it please the court. Why? An inescapable question at the center of this case. Why? Why would Michael Ehrman, a man who didn't know Dr. Moody, a man who had never met Dr. Moody, kill Dr. Moody on his own? Why? Why would the call logs, the PayPal records, the GPS tracking data, the life insurance policy. Why would all of it be consistent with Michael Ehrman's story if he was making it up after the fact? After all, Mr. Ehrman doesn't work for Sprint or the alarm company. He certainly doesn't work for the Waco crime lab. He didn't have a chance to fix that evidence up after the fact. He didn't even know it existed until he saw some of it on the stand here today. Why is all that evidence consistent with his story? Members of the jury, you've seen today the answer to those two questions. Why would Michael Ehrman kill Dr. Moody alone? He wouldn't. Why is the evidence in this case consistent with his story? Because he was telling the truth, members of the jury. What you've seen today, what the evidence and testimony has shown, is that Michael Ehrman would not have committed this crime alone, could not have committed this crime alone, did not commit this crime alone. The defendant, Ellen Moody, was a full partner, indeed the mastermind in this crime. It was she who decided that her husband needed to go. She was the one who came up with the plan. She was the one who gave Mr. Ehrman the information he needed. And she, members of the jury, is responsible here today. Like we said in opening, though, as the government, we can't just tell you that's the case. We had to prove it to you. We had to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and we've done so here today, members of the jury. There were three things we had to prove to you. One, that Mike Ehrman killed Dr. Moody. We've proven that, and Mr. Hari and I agree. And Michael Ehrman was the shooter. And we've proven that the killer traveled in interstate commerce to commit the crime. You heard from Mr. Ehrman that he traveled from Louisiana to Waco to kill. And we've heard no contest whatsoever from the defense. This was a murder across state lines. So the only questions left in the case, members of the jury, are the questions we've been talking about since the beginning of the trial. Did Mrs. Moody want her husband dead? And did she pay to have him killed? Or, as the defense has been telling you all day, did Mr. Ehrman act alone? Members of the jury, the answers to those two questions are easy to see. If we just go back to the things we asked you to keep in mind at the beginning of today's trial, three simple facts we were going to prove to you: motive, knowledge, and evidence. And I want to walk back through them right now. Motive, members of the jury. I think we can all agree that there was one person in this room with a motive to hurt Dr. James Moody. After all, Mrs. Moody had just found out that her husband had been cheating on her. The man she had been married to for 20 years was seeing a 24-year-old TA. While she was out of town, they were at her home, in her bed, Lila Green wearing her bathrobe in pictures she saw from Mr. Ehrman. Members of the jury, I really can't even imagine how upsetting that must have been for Mrs. Moody. And she told you as much. She sat on the stand here today and she admitted, yeah, I was angry. It was a betrayed kind of angry. And we saw the text messages that she sent to Joanne Miller saying she was mad. But folks, it's not just the anger. It's what she stood to gain. $1 million on that life insurance policy. And folks, look, if everything else had been fine between the two of them, of course, she's not going to kill her husband for $1 million. But if she's already decided that they're on the outs, that she's that mad at him, don't you think that $1 million extra played in was enough to send her over the edge? If she's teetering, deciding, man, I am so mad that I'm contemplating killing this guy, and if I do, I'll get $1 million. Isn't $1 million enough just to tip you into making the decision to kill? On the other hand, members of the jury, you have heard really nothing about why Mr. Ehrman would kill on his own. I mean, the only alternate theory you've heard in today's case is that Mr. Ehrman wanted to blackmail Dr. James Moody. That is the only alternate theory you've heard today. But think about that for just a second. If he were trying to blackmail Dr. Moody, if he had walked in with the photographs, showed them to Dr. Moody, demanded money, and Dr. Moody had rejected his offer, why, members of the jury, would he then pull out a gun and kill Dr. Moody? If you're trying to extort someone, the whole point is that you want money from them, right? And if you kill somebody, there's no way to get the money from them. That's like lobbing a grenade into the only ATM in town. It's like locking yourself out of your own security deposit box. You can't get to the cash. Dead men don't cut checks, members of the jury. Dead men don't visit ATMs. Dead men don't wire things via PayPal. We've shown you, Mr. Ehrman would not have committed this crime without the motive Mrs. Moody provided for it. Which brings us to our second point. All the things that he needed to know to commit this crime. And we showed you that on his direct examination. There were 6 things he needed to know to commit this crime. He needed to know the defendant would not be home, and that her daughter would not be home so that people wouldn't be getting in his way. He needed to know when Dr. Moody would be home, and he needed to know where he was going to be in the home. He needed to know that he would be able to get in there without setting off the alarm system. And folks, he needed to know that there was actually going to be some kind of payment on the back end. Otherwise, why would he do it in the first place? Members of the jury, we submit to you that this taken together, this proves that Mrs. Moody was involved. Michael Ehrman simply would not have known, could not have known this information unless the defendant was participating. And look, I know what Mr. Haree is going to say to that when he gets up here. It's what he's been saying all day. This guy was a private investigator. Couldn't he discover this information on his own? And members of the jury, that's when I want you to go back to the GPS logs. Because what they're going to show is that Mr. Ehrman came into town at 9 a.m., a little before 9 a.m., I guess right around 7:30, he met at 8. 7:30, he comes into Waco, Texas on the morning the murder is committed. He had been in Louisiana for the 10 days prior. And he had never followed Mrs. Moody. He had never followed her daughter. He had never known about the special event that you heard Dr. Moody was attending that night. All the prior private investigative work he did wouldn't tell him where the daughter would be, when exactly Dr. Moody would be home, or where he would go once he got home. And no matter what Mr. Haree says about private investigative work, I want to submit to you, members of the jury, that there's simply no way in the world he could have known that the back door was unlocked or that the alarm system was off. There are keys to that back door, members of the jury. Mrs. Moody must have one. Her husband must have one, but you never heard any evidence today that she gave one to Mr. Ehrman. She was the only one with the key. She was the only one with the alarm code. He needed the door to be open. He needed the system to be off. And the only way he could get that done was if she did it for him. Which brings us then to the evidence, members of the jury, that ties the two of them together. The call logs. 3 calls after he's done his private investigative work. 3 calls that last an hour cumulatively. They told you their explanation for that is that they were settling up on the bill. Remember what Mr. Ehrman said when he testified from the stand here today. They agreed on an hourly rate, right? And then there was some other expenses that would get thrown in that final bill. But the payment amount that they agreed to in the PayPal, you'll see, is $10,000, an even lump sum, members of the jury. If this was a payment for something like private investigative work, where little expenses add up over time, the hourly rate, the hotel fees, all of that, would it come out to exactly $10,000, members of the jury? Or does that sound like a separate deal that they reached on the phone in that 30-minute conversation? It's the latter, folks. It's a separate deal they struck. $10,000 upfront payment. The even amount tells you that. And the GPS records. The GPS records show he was at their home that morning, at Baylor in the afternoon, at their home that evening, exactly as he would be if he was meeting with Miss Moody, dumping the envelope under the door, and back to kill Dr. Moody, exactly as he testified from the stand. And today the defense's only answer to that has been, well, look, he was casing the joint. Members of the jury, you don't case a joint at 7:40 in the morning. You know, people might still be home then. You know, neighbors are going to be leaving for work then. You don't want to be seen if you're casing a joint. No, the only reason he would show up in the morning like that, when the Moody's might still be home, is to meet with one of the Moody's. And that's what he testified to, that he was there to receive marching orders from the woman whose plan it was. Folks, if at any point you think that the physical evidence might cut either way, I want you to keep in mind when exactly all of this happened. The timeline that I walked through with Mrs. Moody at the end of cross-examination. On August 30th, she found out her husband was cheating on her. She sends a series of texts to her friend just a day or two later, saying she seriously wants to kill her husband and that son of a bitch is going to pay for what he did. Days later, she's calling Mr. Ehrman. A day later, $10,000 via PayPal to him, and just a few days later, Dr. Moody is dead. It's an awful lot of coincidences, members of the jury. It's an awful lot of coincidences that she sent those texts just a day or two before those calls, just a day or two before the PayPal payment, just a day or two before the murder. Is it just a coincidence, members of the jury, that all of that happened on that timeline? No, it's not. Is it just a coincidence, those things we showed you on the slide, just a coincidence that Mrs. Moody wasn't at home? Just a coincidence that the back door was unlocked? Just a coincidence that the alarm system was left off for the first time in 5 weeks that day? No, it's not. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's evidence of murder for hire, members of the jury. And that's why we're asking you to find the defendant guilty. Thank you.
Okay, would the defense like to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor. If I could have a minute. Permission to set up a chair, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And proceed.
Go ahead.
Why? Why? Mr. Wallace started his closing argument with that very question. Why? Why would Michael Ehrman kill James Moody if he wasn't working with his wife? Now, during their opening statement, Mr. Wallace said that this is a case as old as time. A woman finds out her husband is cheating, and then she kills him. Well, folks, I can think of one motive just as old: money. Today, the evidence has shown that the government's theory of what happened that day is not the only theory. The evidence has shown that their version of what happened rests on the words of Michael Ehrman. The evidence has shown that Michael Ehrman is a man who cannot be trusted. Today, you learned that the first story Michael Ehrman told police is that this was a burglar. He told that story by knocking over chairs, throwing around papers, kicking in a back door. He wanted to mislead the police. The second story he told is that, no, this was self-defense. I went in there just to talk to him, and he pulled a gun on me, so I had to protect myself. The government, they didn't like story number two. Today you heard that when Michael Ehrman was facing the death penalty, that's That's when he came up with story number 3. That's when he implicated for the first time my client, Ellen Moody. Now, the government's theory depends on you believing that story number 1, that's a lie. Story number 2, that's a lie. But story number 3? Story number 3, that one's the truth? Folks, the one thing we've learned today is that Michael Ehrman cannot be trusted. And the reason that trust is so important is because today it's the government that carries the burden of proof. They had to prove their case to you today beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the highest burden in our criminal justice system. Now, if you go back into that jury room to deliberate and you believe, you know what, Ellen Moody might have hired Michael Ehrman to kill her husband, you must find her not guilty. If you believe that more likely than not, Ellen Moody killed her husband, you must find her not guilty. If you believe, yeah, it's probable, she probably hired Michael Ehrman to kill her husband, you must find her not guilty. Members of the jury, you have to believe that beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's go through the resume of the man the government's case depends on. 2011, Michael Ehrman is arrested for theft. 2011, Michael Ehrman's license to practice as a private investigator is revoked. 2012, he's still practicing. 2014, he shoots and kills James Moody. This is all before the 3 different stories that he's told. Folks, think about what they're asking you to believe. They're asking you to look at this woman with a career and then look at a career criminal and take his word for it? That's just not reasonable. Now, Mr. Wallace, he got up here during closing argument and he said, you know what, wait a second. The evidence supports Michael Ehrman's story. But here's the problem for the government. Every single explanation they gave you, they got from Michael Ehrman. Let's start with the receipts. They told you that this $10,000 payment was for murder. But that's not what the document says. There's no description at all what this payment was for. The only person who told them the $10,000 was for murder was Michael Ehrman. And look at the email Mrs. Moody sent this money from. It says her name, Ellen Moody at Baylor.edu. This is her work email. She wasn't trying that hard to hide the murder, if you believe the government. The next thing they tried to point to were some call logs. They said these call logs, they prove that they were talking about murder. No, they prove that they were talking on the phone. The only person who told you they were talking about murder is Michael Ehrman. So they pointed to some GPS tracking. They said, look at this. 7:49 a.m., he was in Waco, Texas. This proves he was talking to Mrs. Moody. No, this proves he was in Waco, Texas. Who said he was talking to Mrs. Moody? Michael Ehrman. Members of the jury, every single piece of evidence was put together to you not by the government, but by Michael Ehrman. And the one thing that we've learned today is that Michael Ehrman is a man who cannot be trusted. Now look, folks, when you go back into that jury room to deliberate, if you can think of at least one story, any reasonable story other than what the government told you, you must find Ellen Moody not guilty. And I want to walk you through at least one possible story I came up with today in trial for what this evidence might actually show. Ellen Moody pays Michael Ehrman $2,500 to follow her husband around. Over the course of 10 days, in trying to determine an affair, Michael Ehrman learns James Moody's schedule. He knows where he works as a professor at Baylor University. He sees where he lives, a huge property with 3 different buildings. He knows he has speaking arrangements. He knows where he works. He knows he has a home office. And before he started this investigation, he got a key to that office from Ellen Moody, not for murder, but to gather information. The two of them talk a few times after the investigation is over. Michael Ehrman is uncooperative. Members of the jury, that's easy to believe. You saw how uncooperative he was with me. Imagine how uncooperative he would have been with this woman he knew was well-to-do. He knew he could squeeze money out of. They talked for 59 minutes before finally they settled on a bill. Now, Mr. Wallace made a big deal about the fact that that number was a nice round number, $10,000. But if Michael Ehrman told Mrs. Moody, well, it came out to around $10,100, let's just call it 10 even. So she pays him $10,000 from the same email address she paid the first receipt from, not trying to hide the fact that she made this transaction because all she's doing is paying him for investigative work. Well, now Michael Ehrman knows a few things. He knows James Moody's schedule, he knows these people have money, and he knows he's got those pictures. The pictures of a Baylor University fooling around, a Baylor University professor fooling around with a student. So he comes back to Waco with these pictures in hand. On the morning of September 9th at 7:49 a.m., Michael Ehrman is at the Moody property. See, nobody saw him because Michael Ehrman is doing what Michael Ehrman does best. He's following people without being seen. Now that morning, Michael Ehrman sees Mrs. Moody leaving home in a rush with suitcases. He knows she's going out of town. He sees Shelby Moody leave the home on her way to school. Now remember, he's got that key to the back office. After delivering an envelope with only his fingerprints on it, telling Professor Moody to meet in that office, Michael Ehrman waits. That night, he goes into the office. He sits down in the chair, leaving his left handprint on the chair armrest, and he hands those photographs over. But James Moody, he didn't bring money. He brought a gun. Michael Ehrman's got one too. And trying to protect himself, he pulls out that gun and shoots James Moody dead. Then he makes a mess, runs away, and gets caught. Folks, this is just one explanation for all of the evidence opposing counsel pointed to. If you believe that that explanation is a possibility, if you believe any other explanation we've heard today is a possibility, you must find Mrs. Moody not guilty. At the beginning of today's trial, I told you that Michael Ehrman was a liar, a thief, a fraud, and a felon. Today you learned that Ellen Moody is none of those things. Mrs. Moody is a mother. She was a wife. She is a valued member of our community. She works closely with students. You heard no evidence she's ever been charged with a crime or even accused of a crime. The only mistake she made was trusting Michael Ehrman. Because members of the jury, Michael Ehrman is a man who cannot be trusted. That's why I ask, when you go back into that jury room to deliberate, you check the box for not guilty. Thank you for your time.
Is there any additional, I'm not sure how much time left the government has. You have 1 minute and 30 some seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the jury, say Mr. Hari is right, just for a sec. Say it really was Mike Ehrman all by himself, and Ellen Moody had no idea what was coming down the pike on September 9th, 2014. She was called that night by Sergeant Vaughn. She was told that night by Sergeant Vaughn, "Ma'am, your husband is gone, he's dead." And do you remember what Sergeant Vaughn said about Mrs. Moody's reaction? She didn't cry. Her voice didn't break. He got no reaction from her at all, members of the jury. And that's because she wasn't surprised. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't sad. She was glad. This was the plan she had come up with. This was the plan she had designed, members of the jury. Now, the Ellen Moody you saw on the stand today was very different. Indeed, as I asked about that call with Sergeant Vaughn, she started crying then. And that's because she knows what's on the line here today, members of the jury. She knows, members of the jury, that if you find that she was involved, she's going to be going to jail for a long time. But when you want to know the true character of a person, when you want to know how they were really feeling, you look at what they said at the time, not what they're saying in court, staring down a jury. The evidence shows Mike Ehrman would not, could not, did do it alone, that she was involved. Find her guilty. Thank you.
Thank you both. And very nice trial, thank you. And now we're going to have the jury retire and we will await their verdict. Okay, everyone can be seated. First, let me say congratulations to both of you to making it this point. You both did an excellent job. As a judge, I've seen a number of trials, and I'm a newly made district judge, but my time as a judge, in the federal system, I've had 30-some trials, and so I would stack you up against anybody that I see. You both did a very good job, and considering the fact that you had the problem so briefly, that's real life. In terms of preparing for a trial, and especially in a criminal case versus a civil case. It was very close for you both, and it was a 5-4 vote. And before I announce that, because I know you both want to hear the answer to that, is we have no idea where y'all are from, so just stand up and tell me where each of you are from, Mr. Wallace. Yep. Okay, very nice. Okay, very good, very good. Well, it was a 5-4 decision for the defense. So congratulations.